All right, we're live now for what is episode 10 of Creators Talking, where we're going to discuss the various comics, movies, some TV to come out this year, and any amusing stories to go along with them. A bit of a lineup change from last year because, well, a couple of people were absent for this due to various reasons, and we missed them, especially EJ and Angela. Shout out to you guys wherever you are. So instead, first of all, we've got one of my, going to be my podcasting partner for next year. It'll be Mr. Wombat.
Good morning, everyone.
And next is another chap who kindly jumped in at the last minute. It's Scott.
Hoi hoi, everybody.
And finally is a lady who once claimed her internalized misogyny is so bad her ovaries have turned into testicles. It's Peter.
Hi-ho.
Yeah. So,
Wow.
Yeah. Did you like that
Hell
one?
of an intro there, friend. Way to go.
Yeah. I tried to save the good ones, but Peter's had the best and worst out of me in terms of intros, as you probably heard. So I try to make them as good as I can.
Yeah.
But appreciate you all joining, especially at such short notice. Now, the last stream we had around about this time last year, we talked about Marvel and what the actual hell happened to them. I think the discussion itself, was the better part of an hour, maybe, with all the various topics. And there was I think a silent hope that they'd improve this year, but it really wasn't the case. And eventually, they responded to the falling sales and criticism about them. Now, the story was reported by one of the finest examples of online journalism, Bleeding Cool News.
Finest. Interesting choice of words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In which the VP of Sales, David Gabriel, claimed that fans were, and I quote, turning their noses up at women characters and coloured characters, as it were.
Oh, and don't forget,
Yeah.
He said too, we've heard loud and clear that fans don't want diversity in their comics. They don't want these kind of stories, and they don't want these characters. Oh, get me fucking started on that shit again, boy. Oh my god. Please continue. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. No. Go ahead.
No, well, reactions to his
I'll get
statement.
back to it, but you do your thing.
Right, well, I'll get through this bit. The reactions to his statements, there was quite a mixture. And it forced him to issue a clarification as to what he meant, in that fans and retailers were apparently excited about new heroes. But there were two responses that were of interest to me. The first one was something that vindicated what EJ had said on the first stream, because he had said apparently Marvel had seen a cultural shift and tried to monopolize it, not expecting a massive pushback.
Yep.
Now, G. Willow Wilson, who's the writer of the Kamala Khan Miss Marvel, was not impressed with Bleeding Cool because they had used an image of her character for the original story, and she blogged about it. And she wrote a long blog piece, but this was the part that I noticed straight away, which was a huge reason Miss Marvel has struck a chord. It has is because it deals with the role of traditionalist faith in the context of social justice. There was apparently an untapped audience of people from a wide variety of faith backgrounds that were eager for a story like this. Yeah. Oh, look who's here.
Yeah, I love that. An untapped audience. Yeah.
Oh,
no,
Joe.
no.
Hold on a second. I apologize for this.
When you're not talking, mute.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, better late than never. We're just talking about you.
Oh yeah, of course you are. Because I'm the asshole who shows up late.
Yeah. Right. EJ Sparrow, ladies and gentlemen. Better late than never.
Yeah.
Fashionably late. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we were just talking about something you had said in the previous stream, where you had about the Marvel response. You had said that. Oh, thank you.
Oh, hello.
Yeah. Where you had said that Marvel had seen a cultural shift and tried to monopolize on it. Remember that? Right. Well,
I vaguely.
Yeah. Well, I'll repeat what was just said, so you're hearing, which was G. Willow Wilson's response, where she had said that Miss Marvel had struck a chord because it deals with the role of traditionalist faith in the context of social justice. There was apparently an untapped audience of people from a wide variety of faith backgrounds who were eager for a story like this.
Not
Now-
according to the comic sales, there's not.
So that vindicated something that you had said. But then this was one of the other amusing reactions to the whole thing. And that was, of course, Mark Waid. He took exception. Yeah, wait for it. He took exception with the way the writer of the article, someone who goes by the pseudonym of Jude Terror, right, great pseudonym there, who he tweeted, "It is David Gabriel's enormous credit that he somehow chooses every day not to put his fist through Jude Terror's smug ass face." Of course, Bleeding Cool took absolute glee in reporting this, and Waid later left Twitter for a little while, but obviously he's now come back. So go on then, Scott. I know you're itching to have at this one. Rock and roll.
Well, God, where do you even start with this? David Gabriel is a victim of his own ignorance. He is a businessman, and he doesn't really understand comics. I don't think he doesn't understand the audience first and foremost. Obviously, from the things that he said, saying that people don't want diversity in comics. People don't want these kind of things. No, people do, but they don't want to have. They don't want you to go and shit on the foundation that they have helped you build for 40 fucking years plus. They don't want you to fucking just dismiss that and say, all this stuff is garbage. You're all cis white male, blah, 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 all this other bullshit. They don't want you to fucking denigrate them and be derisive towards them. They want new stories, but they don't want you to shit on them at the same time in an effort to, reach out to this new demographic that, quite frankly, isn't interested in actually supporting the sales of these comics. They want these things, but they don't want to actually buy the comics because they don't give a fuck about them. I mean, we've seen that very clearly. So, Gabriel said a lot of really, really dumb things that showed he just doesn't understand his audience. And he's just like what's his nuts from EA saying, "Oh yeah, we're loot boxes. People love that shit." Yeah, sure they do, friend. It's just like he's in the business of making money. He's in the business of seeing profits. He's in the business of capitalizing on trends. Like, back when the gay marriage thing blew up and Marvel took advantage of that. And, and to a certain degree, comics traditionally have been topical in the way that they approach subjects of news of the day kind of things. But in this case, they took it in a really weird direction where they were dismissive and derisive towards the fan base that actually built Marvel into what it is. And they rejected it. The fans are like, "Yeah, fuck no. No, I'm not having it," So it's Gabriel's a fucking idiot. That guy is a total fucking chump. And then Waid jumps in. And Waid bums me out because Waid was a guy that has always been very level-headed and very even-handed in the way he approaches things. But when it came when the Gamergate thing popped up and this stuff popped up with the comics and everything, he immediately jumped on the, I'm male feminist supporter, put his head in the fucking sand and just listened and believed. And I was really bummed out by it. And I sent him a message. And I know you and I talked about this at one time.
Yeah.
I sent him a message on Twitter. I was like, look, man, I've appreciated your work for ages now. I appreciate the fact that when you approach things, you're very even-handed. You think about them, you approach them in a very logical way, but you're not really using that same approach right now. And it's kind of bumming me out because there's another side of the story you're not seeing it or you don't want to hear. You're willfully ignoring it. And he fucking blocked me. And I was like, fucking hell, dude. There we go. It's just, you can't have a conversation with somebody anymore because they just, once they bury their head in that fucking sand, they're done. They're just not even trying to hear it. So it's just kind of a bummer. It's kind of a bummer that people kind of take these stances and then are just so unwilling to back off of them, or not even just back off of them, but just have a discussion about them in a lot of cases. So, it is what it is. What are you going to do, right?
And it looks like, from what we've seen in other areas, they're not even willing to have that discussion because then the torch and pitchfork mob come out and go after them. You can't even be seen to be talking to the other side. So it's a combination of willful ignorance and a sense of self-preservation in a lot of regards. Is what's driving it. But either way, the net result is they don't actually want to listen to the fan base. They're just listening to the really bad inputs from the social justice crowd.
The entirely wrong people they should be listening to.
Yeah.
And just the fact as well that They're not just not listening to the fans, they're actively shitting on the fans, actively telling them you don't know what you like, you don't know what you want, but I will tell you this is what you want, this is what you like, and you will like it or else.
As Wombat said, the sales have clearly indicated otherwise, but we'll get to them in a little while. Because apparently, as much as Marvel tried, they still managed to piss people off in one form or another. And the first, go on, sorry.
Sorry. I feel like it's the difference between the suits and the creators in this situation is a lot of the creators seem to be seeing like what I said before with the they can see which way the wind is blowing in terms of like the cultural conversation, however you want to do it, and they're going up and convincing the suits that even if the sales are failing, that's because of the misogynists in there and the sexists coming in and saying, hey, and so I think that's in a way that's causing them to go at it a little bit harder, right?
But one of the stories that popped up, which I noticed, was comic book retailers in the States were being asked to help promote the Secret Empire storyline by wearing Hydra-themed clothing, which apparently was an insult to many of them due to either being from the Jewish background or being gay or whatever. And I remember seeing it thinking, you're just not doing yourselves any favors here.
Wait, are you? Wait, hold on. But Justin, what do you?
Yes.
You mean wearing a Hydra shirt? You can't do that because you're Jewish? Because why?
That was some of the reasons that were given in the article. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a fantasy. It's
I know.
I know, but the issue with that is again the guy who created the Hydra stuff was basically. It was done just after World War II, and it was a clear poke at the Nazis.
I know. I get that, but it's just we're talking about stories here. It's not like they're fucking donning swastika shirts. I mean, come on.
Yeah, it's not that,
I know a girl that's got the Death Eater tattoo from Harry Potter. What's going to happen? Are they going to round her up now?
But then the next one that I was made aware of was that retailers were further angered by Marvel when they were informed that if they wanted to get hold of copies of these special Lentacular covers, or I think it was I forget the line now, the Legacy line or something like that, they had to increase their orders for their comics, apparently at least 125% more than what they were ordering already. Now, apparently, some of the large retailers in the States, I'm unsure of the final number, were threatening to boycott Marvel at that point because obviously they were ordering much more in than they could actually sell. And I was in my local comic shop Thursday because my guy had got a load in, and I think this was 2 months on, and they were still on his shelves.
Yeah, I remember seeing there was a Twitter thing where you just had comic retailers just sending photos of just piles and piles of unsold Marvel books, and them just going, "Yeah, we can't sell these for love or money. No one wants them." And it seems to be that, in some respects, Marvel's cannibalizing the endpoint retailers to boost their own sales numbers. And in the long term, this is completely unsustainable. And we've already starting to see it, where you're just having comic shops that have been open for 50 years just curling up and dying because, financially that just isn't going to work. They're just getting in books that they can't sell. Marvel's not reimbursing them. So yeah, Marvel can go, look, our sales numbers are great, and only because they're pushing the damage out to the endpoint retailers. So, and you're getting now endpoint retailers making the very, looking at the business numbers and just going, is it even worth me stocking Marvel stuff anymore? No one's buying it. It's costing me money and it's killing my business. Why would I keep doing this? So you're going to start seeing that, I think, turn back to Marvel this coming year, where businesses are just going to go, you know what? You guys aren't changing, sod it. We're not stocking your comics because it's just not worth it.
This reminds me a lot of the Comics Code Authority back in the day. They used to pull these little almost extortion rackets that, if you were a comic book shop that was carrying stuff that was not approved, they would not allow the companies that are approved to be sold at your shop.
It's sad to see, it really is. And of course, this came to a climax during a meeting with Marvel and at one of the major conventions. Advertisers a quote unquote no holds barred Q&A, but apparently it was just a meeting to shaft new products to the retailers there. And the tension mounted with various questions from retailers to the Marvel execs, until one apparently lost his temper and started shouting what was reported as a lot of racist and homophobic abuse. The meeting was abruptly cut short. Bleeding Cool, again, reported this was some spin, claiming heated scenes as comic retailers turn on each other, and that it was more than one individual shouting abuse, something which the article's writer, Rich Johnson, who is a man whose reputation is interesting, let's put it that way, took some shit for.
Yeah, people were yelling and screaming because they went into what they thought was a Q&A and basically got an advertising spiel, and when they tried to ask questions they basically got told the whole, oh, Pat, there, it's fine, don't worry, just keep taking our shit shovels and deal with it. And clearly by this point a lot of the comic places now are to the point where it's like, we can't keep shoveling your shit, we're going out of business. So why would we just sit here and let you pander to us and not listen? And you're just proving you're not worth our time and not worth the money.
And these were the retailers?
Yeah.
Yep, these were the retailers. These are the people that sell the comics.
Like their livelihood is attached to it. Of course they're going to be angry. Holy cow.
Yeah, basically.
I'm not surprised it devolved into like basically them screaming at this guy. It's like they claim it was between the retailers, but no, it was all aimed at this rep. Everyone, especially the guy that absolutely went off like a freaking frog in a sock, he was going off at this representative for basically lying to them, pandering, and just straight up telling them shut up and just keep shuffling our shit.
Yeah, basically it was supposed to be this wonderful, like Marvel presented it as this summit where we're gonna listen to the retailers and see what the people on the ground level want. And then, like Justin and everybody else said, it's just like it turned into a sales pitch basically, and they weren't hearing anything that these people were saying, and it got to the point where it's like, the retailers were like, we're trying to talk to you here and you're just, giving us talking points back. This isn't helping. You're not listening to our concerns at all. And it just, devolved into a shouting match of like, well, if you guys aren't going to listen to us, we're just going to close this whole thing down. Fuck y'all.
So Marvel essentially just wanted the retailers to listen and believe.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely.
This is what happens.
Yeah, it's more like this is my house and you're gonna fucking listen to my rules kind of thing. Basically, is what it was. Which is kind of funny because that's a very House of the Mouse kind of thing to do. Yeah, it's like that's very in line with the way Disney approaches a lot of things like that too.
Oh, yeah, but the catch is Disney aren't backing the comics side of things as such. They're all for the movie side. But as part of the deal they have with Marvel is that they're all about the movies, but they're not touching anything to do with the comics.
Yeah.
So if they think Daddy Disney's going to step in and help them out, they're sorely mistaken.
Yep.
Yeah, and the other thing is Disney actually makes money.
Yeah. There's that.
Of course, this. Go on. Sorry, before I start.
Oh, I was just gonna say real quick. It was just this is a really kind of chicken and the egg kind of problem here because the Marvel movies, while they're doing fantastic, how long is that going to last, and how can they last without the seed that started the whole thing with the comics? It's just it just seems like they don't really have a good grip on the idea that they really need to support the comics and keeping comic retailers in business. Because that's what built this entire empire. Without them, while the scenery is changing because of digital distribution and all this sort of thing, but I think the very fundamental level, you have to look at the comics. Brick and mortar retailers really are the foundation of all of this. So you have to treat them a lot better than they have been. And so they obviously are they're making some pretty big miscalculations right now in regards to that sort of thing. So.
Yeah, but this is entirely Marvel doing this because as far as Disney is concerned, they've got like 70, 80 odd years of backlog of characters and stories and that they can feed off for forever and a day.
Yeah.
They don't necessarily need new stuff, but I think if Marvel keep going this way, it may be a case of that Disney will step in, but not in the way that Marvel would like them to, as far as like just shovel more money. They'll step in and in the lines of, you're tanking our IPs and making it, even though our movies are going gangbusters, you're making us look bad.
Right. Kinda like
Because
what they
we're
did
having
with EA
people
when they
see the
called them up.
movies, go to buy your comics and find out they're shit.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, it's
Of
kind of
course,
like
this,
when they called up EA and they're like, "Hey guys, you're all fucking up with this microtransactions thing. You better put the kibosh on that." They're gonna
Yeah.
do something like that. So
this
I
eventually.
Yeah, I'm just wondering how deep this is going to fall before Disney will actually step in and clean house,
Yeah.
if they will at all.
well, I've already stopped reading Marvel. Like I can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean-
like it just depresses me now.
Yeah. I mean, I
Agreed.
bought one of the legacy issues because I know the guy that's written it. It's a chap named Victor Gischler. And he's very level-headed. He's written some really cool books for Titan. And the one I got was the Spirits of Vengeance one. And I tell you what, it's actually a pretty good book. But the thing is, with these lentacular covers, they don't work properly. You get one image, and then when you move it, you get like 3/4 of another, but it can't settle on which image it wants to do. So these are very poorly. Yeah, they're very poorly made.
Oh man.
Of course, after the legacy issues were released, Axel Alonso, he left Marvel after 6 years in charge and was replaced by CB Cebulski, if I'm saying that name right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going
but
to put
then-
that in quotes of left.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Left.
air quotes, he left.
Yeah. But then it was reported that he had actually been at Marvel for some time, writing under the pen name Akira Yoshida, and faced accusations of appropriation, yellow-faced, and and playing to an ethnicity that did not exist. And you think, what?
Yeah. Hey, guess
Yeah,
what?
everyone
wanna know
saw
what?
that and have basically gone, yeah, pen names, it's a thing.
Yeah,
you
you know
fucking
what? Stan Lee, that's not his name. You know what?
Yeah.
Jack Kirby, that's not his name. We could go on all day if you'd like, but I think that's plenty.
I know.
And I don't know
But-
about you guys, but whenever I see a Japanese name in particular, I'm for sure going to buy that because you know they're pressed, man. I tell you, you know those German camps that happened like 40 years before we were all born. Fuck.
Speaking of just as a side, it's funny. There's even a backlash in Japan. You see floating around the meme of they had the Squirrel Girl stuff
Oh,
that
yeah,
was released
yeah.
in Japan, and they had the wonderful sort of Japanese style Squirrel Girl on the cover. And then Japanese fans, opened up the comic, and it was the worst of the Tumblr tier art. And the Japanese were just absolutely just being merciless. It was like the Hiroshima bombing in reverse. It was, yeah, it was.
I've seen that artwork. It's awful.
Was it Erica Henderson's? Is that who it was?
I can't remember who it was, but it reflects on that article we mentioned last year, obviously, where the retailers were picking apart Marvel, and they'd said the artwork is just far too cartoony now. All the top tier artists have left.
Yeah.
And you look at that Squirrel Girl, and it's a prime example of it. It's fucking bad.
Yeah.
Well, it's like
I mean,
Also,
yeah. Go ahead, sir.
it's like remember Archie in like the 70s and 80s,
Yeah.
you know, and now Archie's all like Riverdale and stuff, but like it feels like they flipped right over, and now Marvel's becoming Archie. It's so
Kinda.
sanitized. It's
Yeah.
so sanitized now. It's just like you know, like you got to be careful not to offend anybody. So therefore, you have these like mega robot battles and stuff where they're just like making cracks at each other the entire time while they're, you know, some life-threatening entity is about to kill them. You know? It's just like, okay, all right, I understand. I'm not buying it.
But at least the Archie artwork was good. The problem is, again, you're not even getting the decent stories. It's like you're getting sanitized stories and absolute just be below toddler level art. It's so there's just no impetus to actually, like, again, stories are crap, characters are crap, art is crap. Why am I buying this?
Yeah, that I'll agree with that in terms of like Archie artwork was always actually pretty good. So
Now the funny thing
also
was,
sorry.
go on, Peter. No, go on.
Also, the Archie work was consistent in his style,
Yeah.
consistent in quality, and every issue. Whereas the thing that's driving me absolutely batshit insane right now regarding a lot of these comics that are coming out that are being printed is blatant, obvious tracing of photos. Not even
the
any
Greg Land
attempt,
effect?
yeah, not even attempt to use it as a base and then like build over it, just like use it for proportions, whatever. It's an obvious trace, and it sticks out because it looks so much better than their actual drawn art. It's that just shits me up the wall.
Yeah. Now the funny thing about the last stream we did was that at least one point each of Peter, EJ, and Angela made have been vindicated by things that have happened this year. Obviously, we just mentioned EJ's earlier about what Willow Wilson said about the Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel, and so forth, and trying to aim for social justice warriors as possible sales. But the next one we're going to mention, because we're going to go into some of the releases now, just for a laugh, shits and giggles, whatever. This one was actually vindicated, saying that you had said on the previous stream, Peter. This was the issue X-Men 1, sorry, the X-Men Gold issue 1. And because Peter had said some of the stuff had clearly got out before the editors clearly not checking the content. Now, the artist, a guy named Ardian Siaf, if I'm saying his name right, hid a reference to the Quran passage QS 5.52 on the T-shirt of Colossus, yeah, during a baseball game. Now, if I've got this right, the passage roughly translates as "Do not take Jews and Christians as friends/allies."
Yeah.
Now, it was small enough not to be noticed at first, but when some of the Indonesian fans saw it and started a thread about it, Marvel quickly had to issue an apology, and Saif was removed from the book after issue 3. But he didn't do himself any favors later, because he stated that his career was over because, and I quote, "Marvel is owned by Disney. When the Jews are offended, there is no mercy."
Oh my God. Nobody ever talks about. You know what pisses me off though is nobody ever talks about that area of anti-Semitism.
No, they don't.
It's and you know like the people who were angry at that, I hate to say, were like from what I saw, were not so much like the social justice warriors as the straight white people.
Oh, they were being angry for them.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's weird.
I mean, that's the new thing. It's like it's all that white guilt from these people. You know, they gotta be upset for everybody else to
that's a topic that's going to come up later, Scott, because you'll like that. Yeah, but trust me, there's a reason I mentioned that.
Right.
But yeah, that was a hilarious little moment there where Marvel attempting to apparently do less politically faced storylines. That happened in the first comic that was released, and you think, Jesus fucking Christ, that is brilliant.
Yeah.
Now, of course, the biggest announcement was the Secret Empire storyline, where Captain America became a Hydra agent, slave, whatever you want to call him.
Right.
And before the comic series come out, Marvel actually had to issue a statement asking the fans to, and I quote, "allow the story to unfold before coming to any conclusion," because obviously the response from the Hail Hydra issue 1 Captain America was still quite relevant. And it's the only time I can think of that a company has ever had to do that.
A trigger warning?
Yeah, essentially that's what it was. A trigger warning.
Yeah, it was.
And the numbers
with that one, I will never forget the look on Chris Evans's face.
Yeah.
When that guy handed him the comic, all grinning, thinking, "I'm going to basically score myself brownie points," and then see the look he gives, and he's just, the other guy's just like, shit.
Yeah.
It's like that Simpsons episode. It's like, look, if you freeze it, you go frame by frame, you can see the point where his heart breaks, and just you see the photos, the series of photos. Chris Evans just goes from smiling, this is going to be, and just looking, and just. Yeah, Chris Evans' face just drops, and you see the artist who's the guy who's giving him the book just going from Chris Evans is really I've so fucked up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You know what? I've got an unpopular opinion about this. I know.
Go on then.
Because I was like, you know what? All right, cool. Let's see where this goes. While I wasn't out there applauding it or anything, you know, I was low, but I was just like, okay, this is interesting. I want to see where this goes. So when they did that and they got all that backlash, I was kind of like, y'all, please chill the fuck out. Just let's see what happens. Just give it a chance. Because I'm always interested in when comic creators take a chance like this, because this is a big fucking chance. I mean, this is a big one. And I want to see where it goes, you know, and people fucking just, people got real keyed up real fast about it and got real angry. And I'm just, so I hate to take sides on this, but I think people overreacted just a little bit on this one.
The sales numbers. Go on then, one back.
Sorry, look, and I'll agree with you in that because, and it's kind of the ham-fisted. I think it was just the way it was done. It was so ham-fisted, and because they're not hiring good writers anymore, they're going for cheap writers who aren't particularly good. Everyone just sort of went for the eye rolling. Oh, okay, we know how the story's going to turn out. He's going to be brainwashed or hypnotized or blah 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 blah, and it'll all be resolved in 2 issues. It's going to be Death of Superman all over again. You know,
Right.
that was the other thing. I'm like, yeah, you had the outrage mob. You know, comic guys just going rubble again, and they're pointing out the creator of Captain America again was, I think, Jewish, and I think he was he? I might be wrong about this. Whether he was someone who was, you know, was in Europe during World War II, but yeah, they just kind of went, yeah, hang on, remember that the creator was Jewish, so there was that outrage. But you know, when I saw that, my response was just an eye rolling. Oh, here we go. Yeah. Oh yes, Hail Hydra. A few issues later.
Right.
Oh yeah, look, I'm brainwashed. You know, chip, brain slug, whatever. Oh, you know, I'm back to being the way I was. So, it really was just kind of a cheap method of trying to boost sales. It was, you know, the whole Death of Superman thing again. Oh, he's dead.
Well, it was like
4
the
issues-
death of
4
Captain
issues
America
back.
too. Same
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
of thing. You know, it's just like that sort of, yeah.
But
I mean, I
the
get
sales.
that, but I want them to take chances. I want them to try new things and be bold. And this was about as bold as you could get. I mean, come on,
Yeah.
dude, you know.
Well, the
There's
sales
taking
numbers.
chances. That with that sort of thing is taking chances, and then there's actually taking the chance and writing it well enough that it actually works.
Right.
Where you've taken this chance and people, like, if you write it well enough, people can latch on and go, this is awesome, keep giving us more of this. Instead, they're going the ham-fisted, low-tier shit that's basically doing the whole, oh, surprise! Like the really shitty rom-com drama things during the day. It's like, oh, shock, it was him, but he wasn't dead. He was his other twin from Dimension X. Sort of
Right.
bullshit. Where it's like,
Yeah,
if
yeah.
you try, you can do these sort of things really well, get really engaging story going, and take these big chances and have them work if you put the effort in. But they're
Right.
not.
Well, see that's a problem with Marvel though, is that they've become victim to their own success. Of like back in the mid '90s, they did Age of Apocalypse, and that fucking blew up. That turned on the little switch in the back of their head that got that dopamine drip going. It was like, oh, wait a minute, we just did this giant event thing, and it fucking paid off in spades. We need to do it again and again and again and again. And they've had this thing where they've done this yearly, or this annual, big event, and this is just another one of those in the long line of the big events. And it's just like I got exhausted by the time the 2000s came around with these big events. It was just like, come on, dude, just enough's enough, because they never paid off. They never had the kind of long-term consequences that these things should have. And, you know, we're seeing now, like I said, like the things that they started doing back in the 90s or whatever still don't really have any repercussions in the Marvel universe today, for the most part. It's like they just kind of, like, you know, the death of Captain America when he got shot, he died and he came back. Yeah, okay, yeah, surprise. You know, the Hail Hydra thing. It's, oh, he's a fucking time warp thing, blah, 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 the Cosmic Cube, whatever. You know, it's like they keep doing these things, and I think people have just gotten tired of it. They've gotten tired of, like you were saying, it's just like there's nothing to it. There's no weight to it. There's no, like, consequences or repercussions that really end up having a long-term impact, because they always just kind of whitewash it and go back, restart with the new #1, and then everything's clean again, and here we go. Woo! So they've become victims of the success of those mid to early 90s big events that really kind of blew up and really made like some like Age of Apocalypse was, I don't know about you guys, but that is by far one of my favorite comic series ever. I was just, I was blown away by it. I was so stoked on it. And it's, you know, it's come back in various iterations since then. So it's had some ripples, you know, within the Marvel universe where like Onslaught and Sugarman and some Dark Beast and some of the other characters have come in proper. But yeah, it seems like all these other kind of things, they just did it for the glitz of it. You know, it's like, woo, look, hey, comic sales, buy, you know. So it's
well,
like,
the thing is, the sales numbers for the Secret Empire, they tell an interesting tale on their own. Because to be fair to it, it sold really well at first. The issue 0 they started with was almost 163,000 units sold, which is pretty cool. It's one of the biggest things Marvel have achieved. Issue 1, it then dropped to 157,000 units. Then to issue 2, it literally dropped all the way down to 100,000 units. That's literally a 57,000 unit drop.
Yeah, that's pretty significant. Yeah.
Issue 3 down to 91. 4 it stayed the same. 5 dropped to 87. 6 slightly to 85. 7 to 81. 8 about the same, and then issue 9 dropped to 77. So more people just fell off the bandwagon as it went along, which it's not surprising to see, because the writer, as Peter pointed out, he didn't do a good job with this, I think.
Well, I mean,
Also,
the writing is a problem too, but it's the problem also when you have to buy all these other books to, like, you can't just buy this one series of books. You have to buy all the peripheral books that tie into it that finish out the story. It's like, you get exhausted and you can't afford it. I mean, it's like, how much money am I supposed to spend on this shit? Sorry, Peter, go ahead.
It was the same thing with the Death of the Hulk storyline last year. There were tie-in books from other series to do with that as well.
Yeah, there's also the factor of, I'm applying the same thing now I always apply to movies. Is that as soon as a new movie comes out, you'll see within the first, say, week, the ticket sales will be through the roof. But that's not to tell whether it's good or not. It's the week 2, week 3, and week 4. If by week 2 those sales are pretty much halving, then you know it's a shit movie. And I find the same things now happening with comics. Is that they have the hype. The hype mobile is basically issue 0, issue 1. People go out and go, oh, a new thing. I'm going to grab this and see what it's like. Then they're like, okay, that was maybe the next issue will be better. And it's not. Generally speaking, it's worse. That's why you see, as the issues go on, the sales, especially after about 3, tank.
Yeah.
And then usually by about issue 7, it's cancelled.
Well, and part of it too is I don't know if this is still a big thing, but I remember like speculators were a big problem for a long time, where people were just buying up every number 1, and you know, comics.
I think it's a problem.
Yeah, like Marvel and DC and everybody else bought in this, so they started doing the, you know, you got to get the retailer incentive, you got to get the variant, then you got to get the Dynamic Forces variant, then you got to get the fucking Golden Apple variant, then you got to get the, you know, it's like that's a big problem too, is that they're focusing more on, you know, it's more about the sales and what they can do to get that, like you were saying, the hype train. You get the fucking hype train going and get that fucking, that initial boost, get that fucking first week sale going, or the first issue sale, first 2 issue sales going.
Yeah.
And then people realize it's just crap inside. So it's just like, ugh.
That's the layover from the 90s for the whole, they couldn't do a huge number of variant covers. So when they did do some variants, they actually had some impact and meaning to them. But now it's a dime a dozen to be able to print as many covers as you like with the internal issues. So that legacy's still hanging on, where in the case of it doesn't have that impact anymore, it doesn't have the meaning anymore.
I mean, one series which was released also this year was one that vindicated something Angela had said on the previous stream, in the types of people who are complaining about comic content, you know, the classic SJWs out there, obviously didn't buy them. And this applied to a series called Black Panther and the Crew. Which was
that got shit canned super fast, didn't it?
Yes, it did. It was cancelled after issue 2.
Oh my gosh!
Why?
Yeah, well, apparently this is a comic based on the whole Black Lives Matter movement. I'm told. Issue 1 started off at 35,000 units sold, which is pretty meager for a first issue. And then issue 2, it literally dropped down to 18,000 before it was told you're dead. And it's kind of strange because it being cancelled that quickly is fair enough, but there are other comic series out there with Marvel that are still going, and their sales numbers have been less than this.
Yeah, I think the other reason it was cancelled is because not only was it fostering the Black Lives Matter narrative, it was actively shitting on police. Like basically saying police off, like where it is in the past, all comics are like, other police officers may not be the superheroes, but they're the superheroes of the normal people. And this was absolutely shitting on them and making them out to be the ultimate evil bad guy. That's why they killed it so fast.
Well, then that shows a failing within the Marvel editorial process, because whoever was editing that book, whoever was in charge of that book, the project director, they fucking failed miserably. And then when the book comes out,
that was last week.
Yeah, that was last week. Yeah, when the book comes out, they see what's the higher up see what's going on. And they're like, wait, what the fuck? We approve this? Yeah. It's like, they gotta pull a fucking 180 real fast. So yeah,
and that's the big problem they're having right now is like all these editors and people they're bringing in. They're the SJW type, where it's a case of once they're in like a embedded tick, and they cannot be removed. And
because if you fire them, they'll do the thing like, "Oh, you fired me because I'm a this." It's like, no,
and because the higher ups are getting so hands off now, this shit gets through.
Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of these hires that they're doing, they're millennials, right? And
and they're also young adult authors, I'm told.
Oh yeah, that's a big thing too, right? And and so as millennials now, when I was younger, when I was between the age of 20 and 30, I was trying to temper what I was doing in the real world with social responsibility as well, right? Yeah. And so this is how they're viewing these things. It's just like, I got to create this Black Lives Matter comic book because Black people are oppressed by cops or something, or whatever narrative that they happen to believe in, right? But the reality is that the vast majority of people look at that and then they're like, well, I don't buy it, right? And they don't understand that that particular narrative is actually very niche. So yeah.
There's another funny one that
I think it's a millennial thing, as in you see a lot of comic authors out there, like independent stuff, that do really good stories who come from the same generation. I think it's the management culture at Marvel is somewhat broken in that management's making the active decision to hire these sort of writers, and the problem is you're not going to see any diversity of thought in that organization now because of the nature of the people that are already there. So it's kind of that death spiral. You're not going to have anyone who's going to go against the narrative because it just smacks of an organization that's now a very, very, very confined echo chamber. I mean, the fact that Black Lives, that comic that was sort of, that was mentioned, even got approval. I am sure that, multiple layers of management read the pitch for it and went, yep, I hear we've signed off budget for that. And the fact that they all thought it was a good idea tells you the organization's got serious problems.
Yeah.
So the fact that they haven't purged, that at this point they haven't purged management from most of the layers down and refresh their writing staff and refresh their art staff, this stuff just keeps happening, says that the rot is very, very deep at Marvel and is not going to go away anytime soon.
Yeah. There's another funny one that was published.
This is why I fear that Marvel's potentially going to go belly up in the way that by the time Disney does step in, they're going to gut it so badly that there's going to be pretty much nothing left, and Marvel Comics as a whole is just going to be the end of an era.
Yeah. There's another funny one that was published was the comic America, written by wait for it, written by YA author Gabby Riviera. Yeah. Now, not only did this comic have some seriously bad writing, it's such wonderful lines as "What the holy menstruation." I'm not joking. That is a line in the comic.
Hey, Justin, you know what? When I was reading that book, I gotta apologize. My face was tired. I was just like, holy shit, did they hire the fucking people from Mass Effect and Andromeda to write this shit? This sucks.
The funny thing about this book, though, is it's not going to be remembered for its writing, obviously, but it's actually going to be remembered for the fact that they were pranked into printing a letter from a Redditor, which compared it to the movie The Room in praise. Yeah. And they even responded to this letter, the editorial staff, thinking it was real.
Really?
Yeah, I'm going to read the letter because I've got it here.
Nice.
Now, listen to this letter and see if you can hear what they're doing between the lines.
Okay.
Dear Gabby, I want to express all the joy and entertainment that America has brought me these past many months. Every time I see it online, I get excited and feel so many different emotions fill me up. The art, the writing, the original yet familiar characters, they all bring out so much for me and many others online and in real life. I can't help but laugh at every other thing this comic brings to me. Sometimes I'm left beyond belief at what I've seen printed. I promise you, as the trade comes out for this, it will be my recommendation for the comic book reading club I am part of. Many of the members are fans of The Room, so I'm sure they will go for it. Hopefully your comics get the love and ratings they deserve.
I'm just reading that, hearing that in a very, very sarcastic voice.
Yeah, when it is that particular line, sometimes I'm left beyond belief at what I've seen printed. I thought, I can't believe they fell for it. But, it was actually printed in the comic itself.
Poser, best pose.
It was literally printed in the comic letters page at the back on the particular issue. I don't know which one, but oh fucking hell!
Oh man.
Yeah, that one.
Do you know what I find even more ridiculous about the entire character of America Chavez?
Yeah.
They keep saying over and over again, "Oh, she's LGBT, blah 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 blah, lesbian, Latino American," but she's a fucking alien. They've had a whole book where they pointed out that she's from a species that's only female who reproduce amongst, like, between them in a special certain way. And she's from another dimension. She's not even human. So how can she be a Latino American?
Not only that, but if she's from an alien species that reproduces with, its own gender, then she's straight.
Oh,
Exactly.
Yeah.
there you go.
Literally a great alien.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the writing in the book was terrible. I read I think a little bit of the first issue and some of the second issue, and my face was so tired reading it, I just couldn't believe it. I was like, it was another one of those instances where while I was reading it, there was this dread inside of me that, Pitt pointed out about the rot inside of Marvel. I was like, they have, I want new stories. I want them to take chances, and this is great, because this is the kind of stuff that you've seen in indie comics for decades now, where they were trying to not attack, that's a bad word. They were trying to express different ideas about sexuality, about, race and ethnicity and just, different levels of physical ability and whatever it is. There was a comic out there for everybody. You could find, if you looked around, you could find something that spoke to you. And I applaud when people take chances and do stuff like that, because I think there's a need for people to tell their stories. But the fact is, Marvel is doing this in such a ham-fisted way, in such a clumsy, stupid way. And these things are so poorly written. Like the America Chavez stuff was so fucking poorly written. And, and frankly, I think if Marvel success with this stuff, they need to start an imprint specifically for that kind of thing. Because I don't know that it fits into the Marvel universe proper in the way that they're trying to force it in there. Because you're not going to replace Captain America with America Chavez. Can she exist within the Marvel universe, like in another imprint? Kind of like, it's like DC had a great way of dealing with this kind of stuff when they created the Vertigo line.
Yeah.
Because those stories didn't fit into the DC universe proper, but they could still exist in there tangentially if they needed to. Like Death did not really work with Superman. Same way but to DC's credit, they had the foresight to understand that these things, which one of these is not like the other. And that they could exist. It could be a thing that they had, but it didn't necessarily need to be, shoehorned in this ham-fisted manner, which they've done. And I think that's the big failing at Marvel, is that their misunderstanding of how these things need to work and where they can exist and where they, they can thrive if they would have done it the same way DC had done with things like Vertigo and some of the other imprints that they've had.
Also, another problem that Marvel are having as far as like diversity characters is this art thing of generic brown person of no real distinct ethnicity that just sort of there. And if they're trying to pander to people of certain ethnicities or backgrounds or whatever, that's the worst thing you can do. It's like, I find the current Ms. Marvel is the worst offender for that, because unless she says where she's from, she's pretty much generic sort of tan-skinned girl with brown hair and no real distinct like ethnicity to her, or even distinct character, to be frank.
Well, this next one's going to be interesting, I think. This was, of course, the new series they launched, Mighty Captain Marvel. I love the name. Now, the comic sales numbers literally started off about 48,000 units for the first issue, which, again, is not great. It halved to about 28,000 for issue 2. And then the following issues fell below 20,000 units after issue 3. Now, the thing is, with Captain Marvel, and I want to hear what you guys think on this, it does feel like they were trying to push the character onto people, because obviously she appeared in Marvel vs. Capcom Infinity, or whatever it was. She was one of the antagonizing characters in the Death of the Hulk storyline, Civil War 2. And they've now obviously got the movie coming out in a couple of years. Am I wrong to think that that is the case?
No, it's a completely reasonable conclusion to draw. And I think that was basically, we'll run it up the flagpole in the comics and see if it works. And, we can look at the movie. Yeah, it pretty much got run up the flagpole. The flag got stolen. And yeah, I think they're going to go back and be rethinking that one pretty hard.
Yeah.
All right. So when I was when I was really into comics when I was younger, because now I only variously read, Captain Marvel was not a thing.
No.
Right. And then when I got back into it, and all of a sudden, I'm seeing all this Captain Marvel, I'm like, who the hell is Captain Marvel? I don't even know where she came from. What the hell? Most powerful character in the universe. What? And to me, especially after being out of comics for probably about a 10-year period, it was just a huge culture shock. It didn't feel like the same comic book anymore. Because now you got this new master of the universe, whereas before it was it was always a question on who was most powerful, right? I mean, when I was getting into it, it was Onslaught was the most fucking powerful.
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah.
Right? And then they killed some characters, and then they brought him back because apparently Onslaught can create universes in his mind or something. I don't know. Anyways, but so yeah, Captain Marvel just kind of came out of nowhere for me.
Yeah, it's also, when you look at the comic book itself, it's another badly written one, because again, it's another YA author. But the artwork is so fucking bad. Not to mention the redesign of Marvel herself, because you look at her when she was with the Avengers in the old days, she got that black suit with the gold lightning streak across it, and now you look at her and you think, eh.
Yeah, back then, a lot of women liked to dress as her because she looked sexy, but she also looked powerful and looked like a woman who could basically, with one swing, completely remove your head from your shoulders. But looking at her now, it's like, you're beyond butch lesbian. You're not even butch lesbian. You're a man.
I'm gonna have an unpopular opinion again, I think, here.
Go on, then. We need opposing voices.
I don't hate the new design. I mean, it's fine. To me, it looks like a part of the Nova Corps, basically. So it makes sense to me in that regard. But Captain Marvel has always been a D-list, E-list, F-list character that's only brought in occasionally, just like Black Panther was for so many years, just like Luke Cage and and a lot of these other characters. They were utility characters that they would bring in every now and again. And to be frank, for the longest time, Captain Marvel was just a character that they brought in to print a book so that they can maintain the licensing for it.
Yeah.
They do that with the Defenders. They do that with the Champions. They, every now and again you'll see a miniseries that'll pop up like every 10 years or so. And this is strictly to facilitate maintaining the licensing of these characters. So this is just one of those things where to Marvel's credit, they're trying to do something different, but it's just, it's working out to various degrees, or it's not working out to various degrees. But to me, I'm just kind of like, whatever. It's just fucking Captain Marvel. I don't give a fuck. But they are, the movie coming out is not going to be a Kamala Khan movie. It is about Carol Danvers. So there's that. So that's, a saving grace of this thing, if there is one. But yeah, so I mean, that's my unpopular opinion. It's just kind of like, whatever.
I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem with her costume. I'm fine with that. It's just the way she's drawn, so very masculine.
Mm.
And it's like, even with that costume she's wearing, it's just like, give her a little bit of hip and at least a little bit of bust. She doesn't have to be giant double D cups.
Right.
And she'll look so much more appealing, just as an aesthetic. But the way she's been drawn, with big shoulders, square hips, and pretty much no bust, like a chest like a man, it just, you look at the silhouette that she casts, and that's not of a woman, that's of a thin man. And it's not doing her character, like, especially when your comics are about the looks first and story second, because it's the look of it that gets your attention first, then you start reading. So when you have a supposedly female character look that masculine, it's an immediate turnoff. And then, of course, you add into the fact that she's got a personality of a wet blanket and generally is basically a really horrendous person as a whole, and it's not helping at all.
Doesn't make me look forward to the film much either, especially with Brie Larson as the title character and the way she is on Twitter alone.
Man.
Well,
Okay.
You might be able to run into her and try ask for her number.
Well, actually, you know what? I view the Marvel Cinematic Universe as its own thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Like you kind of have to, because I mean, there's 18,000 characters in the Marvel Universe. They're not going to be able to all in. So
that's what I was talking about earlier with Disney, in that Disney backing Marvel movies. Thusly, they're putting a lot of pressure on them to make sure the characters are well written, well fleshed out, whatnot.
Yeah.
That's why even someone as Ant-Man and all that, which are really most people don't even know outside of the comics, it's like he was accepted so well because they fleshed him well enough and put enough character into him that even though he was a brand new character that pretty much no one outside of Marvel knew, everyone latched onto him right away. So as long as they take that same initiative, flesh her out, give her a decent backstory, give her a decent personality, and make her a person, the movie could do really well. But the comics are never going to.
Well, also you got to consider contracts with the actors, right? Like Robert Downey Jr. doesn't want to do many more films, so all these characters are going to have to retire. So it creates a much different thing, because now you can't resurrect characters, you can't bring them back from the dead.
And it's a very dumb thing to do anyway, as far as movies go.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
but so there's my unpopular opinion on the Captain.
Now, to move on to DC Comics, they have pretty much remained quite quiet this year. I mean, they dominate the sales charts for most of it. The one big mistake they made was creating a character for their Legends of Tomorrow series called Isis. Apparently in response to Donald Trump.
That's such a silly thing. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's the only other.
I have to correct you on that. They didn't create her anew. She already existed, but she had been a minor side character back in the late 60s, early 70s. And Isis was her, she was calling on the goddess of Isis for her power.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, case of back then, it had a purpose and a point of why she'd call out Isis.
Okay.
But she was an Egyptian woman then as well. but they changed it to Muslim woman and the hijab, and yeah, they fucked it up.
Okay, fair enough. Well, the other criticism I've got of DC,
I just want to be a fly on. Sorry, just for a moment. I want to be a fly on the wall for the bloody the design meeting for that character. Oh look, we got this character called she's back in the day called Isis. You know what? We're gonna put a hijab on her, make her Muslim. Anyone have any problems with this? No, this is gonna be awesome. You're just gonna be sure there's gonna be one person who's just gonna be sitting there quietly in the meeting, just banging their head on the desk, just going, "Why am I here?"
Now, the other criticism I've got for DC, I'll save for the moment because it'll be relevant in a second. Because we've got Valiant Comics to talk about, stuff they put out this year. A majority of it I am actually reading and collecting. And I'll tell you what, these comics are brilliant. They're really well drawn, very well written, and they're also very well presented. A lot of the covers are cardboard covers with a decent image on the front. It's great. Has anyone been reading them besides me? And silence.
Again,
I'm sorry, I don't read.
I've been going back through. To be honest, I've been going back through the old 2000 AD catalog. I'm like, you know what? 2000 AD's been writing since the 70s. I'm going to go back and catch up on all that stuff I haven't read yet. So it's kind of, I think a lot of people will do that. It's just a case of, we're just going to go back to the older stuff and, catch up on all that stuff we missed from, back when they were good, when I was a boy. But yeah, no, look, and I think that's kind of a tragedy in that there's really good stuff being put out there by other studios, but because DC and Marvel are essentially the face of comics, and this has been the other complaint from a lot of the indies as well, in that they're turning around. I think IDW and a couple of others said this to Marvel. It's just like, you're tanking the industry, and basically we're all hitched to your wagon, and you're driving that wagon off a cliff as fast as you can, and you've got all the indie crowd just basically trying to cut the ropes and can't. Yeah. So it's and again, that's kind of the fact that you're mentioning these really good comics, and the rest of us are sort of going, we've never, they're getting strangled out by this complete shit show that is DC and Marvel.
The only complaint, of course, I've got with Valiant is what applies to DC as well, and is the stupid amount of variants they produce for certain issues. Because obviously DC finished off the Dark Knight 3 series, The Master Race, and all of the issues combined, there was over 150 different variants.
Jesus Christ!
Yeah, for that 9-issue series, which, by the way, was very late in finishing. And in particular, for Exo Manowar issue 1, they actually made a metal cover variant for it.
Right.
And it's on eBay at the moment, and it goes for about $1,000. It's like, who the fuck has got money for that?
It's funny too, though.
That's where the catch is for me with comics at the moment. It's like, I'd like to do more comic shopping and looking into stuff like with Variant and all that, but comics really are not cheap in Australia in particular.
No.
And so you kind of have to have the spare cash to even just put a bit of an outlay on just even the one or two first issues, and you kind of want them to be good. Otherwise, just like with games here in Australia, the fact that we're paying nearly $100 a game, you want it to be good. Otherwise, it's a big outlay of money for nothing.
It's funny too, though, talking about the variants and stuff and how much they cost. I was looking back through some of my boxes at some of the books that I've got, and I've got some like books that were back in the day were fucking bangers. Like, some signed cover stuff, some of the like Gen 13, like the first prints of the, the miniseries and stuff like that, where those books were going up into the hundreds of dollars at one time. And now nobody wants that shit. So it's funny because it's like, you look at this and it's like, holy shit, that thing's going for like $1,000. That's fucking crazy. Give it 10 years. Nobody's going to it'll probably hold a somewhat of a premium, but then trying to find a buyer for it though, it's like at that point, most people are like, Valiant metal cover, whatever, dude. I don't care.
Yeah.
It's like that's the problem with the companies like Marvel and Valiant and DC when they do these crazy variant cover runs. they dilute everything to the point where it just loses all value. There's nothing special about it. Like
It'll be known as the polished. It'll be, oh yeah, it's a variant cover. Oh yeah, it's from the polished turd age. Yeah. No one's gonna want that.
Yeah, I mean, there were certain things like when Age of Apocalypse came out, I got one of the retailer incentive books. It was for Age of Apocalypse. I think it was either Alpha or Omega. I can't remember which one. It's one of the bookends, and it was, I think the print run was maybe in the hundreds, maybe 500 or something like that. And I actually sold it probably about like 8 or 9 years ago. Or maybe it might not have been that. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Anyway, it still maintained its value though, because there was something special. It was a pretty limited book, and it was a pretty big book as far as like contextually within the history of Marvel. But like when you're just pumping out like DV8, when that came out, that was a spin-off off of Gen 13. They did the 7 Deadly Sins and then a couple extra variants on it. Stuff like that's a dime a dozen, and it just doesn't have it. There's nothing special about it. There's no value to it because they just mass produce all that shit. And like fucking Rob Liefeld is probably one of the people that's most guilty for propagating the whole variant cover thing. Like when he did whatever company was Maximum Press or whatever it was at the time, like back in the 90s, he was pumping out fucking like 15 to 20 variants per every issue that they did. And it's just like, and so that whole thing just kind of, it just waters it down. It's like if you can get something like a retail incentive thing where it's like, the retailers have to buy a certain amount of books to get this thing, and then you get a special variant cover because of that. That's something kind of special. That's going to hold its value potentially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, Jeff Scott Campbell was known for it as well because with Danger Girl, when he was doing that, I mean, I think for issue 2 there was something like 15 to 20 variants. And you look at it and you think, why?
Yeah, I mean, some of them were nice. Don't get me wrong. Like,
absolutely.
Joe Chiodo did some fucking beautiful variant covers for a lot of different books back in the day, and I love Joe Chiodo. So I'm like, all right, cool, give me some Joe Chiodo shit. But like, it's like when there's 15 to 20, there's nothing special about that. You're kind of shooting yourself in the foot in the long term because people are just like, well, fuck that. I can just get one of these other variants. It's a lot cheaper and so whatever.
But, also on the price thing as well for comics. I have to go digging to try and find what the publisher's name was again, but there's apparently one that started up that work on the basis of, we're like old school. Our books don't cost more than $2.
Yeah.
And we work on the basis of, we'll pretty much take on anything that looks like it has a decent spiel and a decent art and whatnot. We'll give it a go, and because we're going back to the basics of how they were printed back in the 90s, so fairly stock standard paper, whatever else, nothing special. They can pump out a few copies, and if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. And if it does, great. Then they keep it going. And because they're doing it on a $1 to $2 per issue basis, they sound like, from what I've heard, they're going gangbusters because they're sort of working on a basis of, if it works, it works. It doesn't, it doesn't. And because our outlay is so small, it doesn't hurt.
Right. They're not getting returns basically because they're not printing that much. Basically, is what you're saying.
Yeah, they're printing based on the demand, and if something after the second issue is going really well, then they'll up print, but they'll still keep it as like $1 or $2 an issue. And if it doesn't after two issues, like, oh, okay, well, we'll shove that one out of that slot and bring in another one.
Now, the only other thing to talk about with other publishers before we move on was IDW, and in particular the chap, I forget his name now, writing G.I. Joe, and the comments he made on Twitter that eventually got him fired. Was it Aubrey something or other? I can think of
Aubrey Citizen.
That's it. Peter, you want to take this one?
Yeah.
Go on.
Let's put it this way. When you hear G.I. Joe, what do you think of?
Snake Eyes, Flint, all that. Cobra Commander.
Big muscles, big missiles.
Do you really want to know? I think of It's a Cold Slither.
Wanted me to come to his band.
I think of Cold Slither. I think of the Cold Slither, and you'll be joining us soon, a band of vipers playing a tune. That's what I think of. I fucking love G.I. Joe.
Yeah, you don't think of a overweight trans man who's suddenly basically toting massive guns now, do you?
Not generally, no.
And you don't think of, let's say, CoverGirl being a plus size model.
No.
No, because she wouldn't fit in the Wolverine.
But you also wouldn't have these various characters suddenly coming in and pushing out all the main guys for diversity, who aren't
so-
American, don't give a shit about America, and so on and so forth.
So what you're saying is they've replaced Roadblock with Speed Bump?
I thought they called them sleeping policemen.
It's like the fact that they even had the audacity to shit on Snake Eyes and have some upstart little shit basically beat him at martial arts because they're so awesome.
I see. This is the first I'm hearing about this. I didn't know this was happening. So please tell me more.
Yeah.
It's basically this ordinary citizen person came in and decided to take over writing and whatnot for the G.I. Joe comics. And they've decided, I'm going to basically cram all the SJW bullshit I can right into this stuff and piss off everyone. And then whine, moan, and bitch on Twitter for getting fired from my book. Let's put it this way.
Yeah.
They wanted an entire book that was basically all going to be a branch off of G.I. Joe that was basically going to be women, trans women, you name it. And it's going to be the Citizens Force.
Well, that
sounds like a winner.
Yeah,
You
sounds
know,
wonderful.
you know your comic is bad when management reads it and then just goes, burn it, burn all of it. No one must ever see this. You know, burn it, take it out into the desert and bury it like they did with the horrible ET game in the Atari era. No one must ever know we ever did this.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what they did.
You know what a better idea would have been is a Neighborhood Watch fucking comic, because that's pretty much what she's describing.
Yeah. And to add insult to injury with all this, it's like G.I. Joe has always been about America, about the American military, the veterans, all that sort of thing. And this person had the audacity on 9/11 to go on Twitter and basically tell anyone who wasn't in the vicinity of the Twin Towers that they're not allowed to mourn or show respect or feel anything.
Oh, that's why I know that
regarding
name. Oh, I remember
Yeah,
that.
that was him.
Fuck, yeah.
that asshole.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, that fucking cunt. That's all right. Call him a cunt. He's a cunt.
No, that's being kind. No, they are basically a bloated colon filled with fecal matter.
There you go.
There we go. Thank you, Peter. All right. So,
But what happened there with that is the case of they'd already brought the ire of the very large and very dedicated G.I. Joe fandom with all their fucking around with characters, like swapping out very popular characters, changing who they were, what they did, inserting shit that military, even just normal people know the military don't do or don't have. It's like, oh yes, master of shotguns. I'm not kidding. And
Hold on.
I'm not kidding. Master of shotguns.
Of shotgun. Really?
yeah.
That's a thing, huh? Wow, this is the first I've heard about that.
Yeah.
But the G.I. Joe community was already kicking up a stink because they may not be very vocal, but they are apparently very big as far as having large forums and whatnot
Oh,
dedicated
you better believe
to
it.
books and everything
Oh my
associated
God.
with G.I. Joe.
Yep.
And
They're
they got onto IDW going,
huge.
you just realize what this person said regarding, like, September 11th. So, like, large number of people who love G.I. Joe are also vets.
Mm.
Oh,
so
for sure.
initially, IDW was like, oh, they didn't mean it, until they basically, the biggest G.I. Joe forum group ever contacted Hasbro and contacted them and gone, yeah,
his tank? Was it his tank?
we're not happy, and we've already contacted Hasbro to say we're not happy.
Yeah,
And
that had to
Hasbro
be
sort of
his
come
tank.
along and gone, yeah, we just got contacted by the biggest group for G.I. Joe there is, and we actually follow them and back them. What are you doing?
Yep. Yep.
Mm.
Wow, I can't believe I hadn't heard about that. Wow.
Yeah, and so they IDW did immediate within like less than 24 hours. Did an immediate back turn, like, oh, we're so sorry for what they said. We're going to be reprimanding them and whatnot, and
Yep.
nothing like this happened again. To the point that Hasbro still hadn't had their pound of flesh from it, and the point that there was this guy's new comic only had one issue out, and they'd already had written up, drawn up, partially printed about another 4 issues. Hasbro called them and said, burn it. Pulp it.
Nice. Nice.
That every single thing this person has done, every single comic that's basically going to come out after this one, anything you've already printed and that, pulp it right now. It is not to see the light of day, and if we do, we're going to be a problem.
That's fucking
And
great.
that's how the dipshit got fired.
Because what IDW failed to realize, and a lot of people failed to realize, is that Hasbro, basically IDW do all the Transformers comics. And the Transformers and G.I. Joe stuff are a package deal. You want one, you have to do the other. So, yeah, it was a case of, you're going to do that. And they're like, yeah, well, we're going to pull the Transformers license off you. And that's one of the best comics that IDW sell at the moment. So, yeah, everything got pulped really quickly.
Yeah, and
So-
also IDW basically had it put up them by Hasbro regarding that, because apparently IDW had let this shit happen because they were like, oh, we never really wanted the G.I. Joe stuff, but we always wanted the Transformers stuff, so we're just sort of been plodding along pandering fairly well to the G.I. Joe community until they let this dipshit in, and then they're plodding along quite happily with letting G.I. Joe just sort of exist. It took a massive nosedive when this dipshit stepped in. So they've had to basically pulp everything that this idiot's done and start over.
So we'll move on to the final sort of topic for comics before we jump into the whole movies and TV side of things. Because there was a couple of criticisms aimed at Marvel which were noticeable. The first one, which was quite recent, which was Jim Shooter, who took aim at them during the interview, where he criticised their drawn-out writing so they could get trade paperbacks out of these stories, and of course Captain America being a Nazi spy. But the one that got everyone talking, and I mean pretty much everyone, was diversity in comics. Now, I've watched a few of this guy's videos, and it comes across to me as piss-taking and jovial criticism. But those in the comic industry that have acknowledged this guy's presence have called him every name under the sun in an attempt to get him shut down. There's been even attempts by Bleeding Cool staff writers who don't like him either to get his Patreon cancelled.
I know this guy.
Yeah, and there was even the
and-
attempt by a couple of people in the comic book industry. I think 2 of them were Mark Waid, him again, and B. Claymore. They had been talking in a private Facebook group about if he was to appear at the convention they were at, to basically try and get him out. By,
that's right.
Yeah, by some kind
Or
of.
didn't one of them say, "Tell me immediately, even if I'm in a panel, so I can go."
That was Wade, I think.
That was Wade. Yeah.
That was hilarious because Diversity in Comics has been an active service US veteran, so they were all going, "Oh yeah, we'll fight him 1-on-1, in real life," and then
Yeah,
they
good luck, guys.
realized that have fun with it.
Yeah,
They
see you there,
basically, they see the photos of Diversity in Comics, and you just watch their balls shrink.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
the fact that
yes,
Mark
they are.
Waid of anybody is going to try and fucking buck up is hilarious. Because that dude's
What's-
5 foot,
What's even
5'1.5", and maybe like 250 pounds, dude. He's a fucking little fat little bald dude. Ain't nothing.
Yeah, and what's even dumber is that they kept saying, "Oh, we'll trigger his PTSD, and we'll make him do stuff," and the guy's like, "Yeah, I've done multiple tours and whatnot, but I've been out a while, and I don't have PTSD because I managed myself well. I took counseling while I was actually in the military, so I've come out clean. I don't have PTSD, and fuck you for daring to use such a thing against a person."
Yeah, but again, the videos, I've watched a lot of them because the stories coming out about this guy, and there is just nothing there that suggests he is this racist, sexist, homophobe, transphobe, whatever you want to say about him.
Oh, what's even funnier is that he's got 3 kids. One practices Buddhism, one is practicing Muslim, and one is a practicing Christian.
Dude, well, here, Justin, you just actually hit on something perfect there, though, because it doesn't matter. The reality of the situation in today's world doesn't matter anymore. And people know that because they know that the court of public opinion will indict somebody and fucking ship them off to the gallows before with the mere implication that somebody's, if you just drop the word misogynist towards somebody's direction or racist, the fucking SJW dickheads and all the fucking virtue signaling assholes out there will jump on them. And you don't have to do it. It doesn't have to be real. They don't have to be these things that you're claiming they are. It's just the implication, the allegation is enough to damn anybody. Because you have these mobs of people, these call them keyboard warriors or whatever you want to call them, but you have these mobs of people that are looking for something to feel good about, right? And all they have to do is get online and retweet something and fucking say something nasty to somebody on the internet, and they get their little dopamine fix. They get their little high, and they're like, "Oh, I did something good because I showed a racist. What for?" Fucking. And that's become the rule of the day. Court of public opinion is one of the most powerful tools for indicting people now. You don't have to. It doesn't have to be true. It doesn't have to be based in fact. You just have to say the right thing about this person to anger the right people, and then you got your mob. You got your fucking mob. There it is. You say, "Oh, this person's anti-Muslim. Anti-Muslim. Oh my God, no! Attack!" And you have these sorts of people that are they want to be part of, they want to feel good about themselves, like they've done something. So it just has that, all you have to do is implicate somebody, and that's it. And it's fucking disgusting because, like you said, if you watch some of this guy's videos, he's having a jab at people. He's having a jab at people, and it's funny. You get it. Like, I got a kick out of some of his stuff. I haven't listened or seen all of his things, but like from what I saw, it's just like, all right, this guy's pretty cool. All right, it's not bad.
He's legitimately taking jabs at people on legitimate points, and to add to it, he himself was actually in the industry for a while and is actually doing his own comics on the side now. So when he talks about things, he's not talking out his ass. He's actually been in the industry to a level, and so he knows how things work. He knows how things should be done. Hence why he's actually an authority who can actually take a poke at these people, and what he's saying is true and it's right. And
it holds some weight.
Don't like that.
It holds some weight. And one of the funniest things too, just to bring this back a little bit here real quick, is that Marvel has always been a big proponent of like, to talk about like the Black Panther and the crew thing. Marvel has always been a very big proponent of civil servants. They've always been a very big proponent. Like when 9/11 happened, they published those books. Giving props to the fire departments and the police departments, all this kind of thing. So it's always kind of funny to me when I see something like that, where a writer or somebody else that's working for Marvel is taking a big dig at like civil servants, and it gets through. It's like, wait a minute, man. There was a time when there's no way this would have fucking made it into print. There's no fucking way. So that it just like this kind of thing and that sort of stuff. It's always very shocking to me, like when it does happen. Because this is like when somebody, like if somebody at Marvel or Mark Waid or somebody that works with those companies is going after somebody who is a veteran and who has been a part of that industry, then something is very seriously wrong with what's going on at Marvel. The rot, as Peta alluded to earlier, is very, very deep if that sort of thing is happening now. So so there's that. It
is happening on a very terrible basis, in that even people within the industry are having to basically toe the line and keep their mouth shut, because as soon as they give any inkling they're not following with the doctrine, they get dogpiled and get chewed out and have their careers torn up simply because they're trying to follow and make good comics the way they're supposed to be. And as soon as they give an inkling that they're not going along with the narrative, or they even just sort of trying to stay out of shit, they get torn to shreds and they leave the industry.
Yep, basically.
But watching diversity in comics, the jabs, as you say, they've been so very well placed that the reactions have been animated, to say the least, from some of these comic industry quote unquote professionals. I tell you what, when me and Wombat and Peter get the podcast going in the new year, I actually want to try and get him on, just so I can hear his side out and ask him some questions about the whole thing, just to see what he says, because there have been many articles written about him making him out to be a piece of shit, including, of course, Bleeding Cool News. I'd love to sit down and have a conversation with the guy. I really would.
You should, man. Do it.
Yeah.
It'd be dope.
I need to find out how to contact him though. So I know he's got an email address floating around somewhere, but I don't know where to find it. So I would love to get him on to talk to him.
He's on Twitter, so
I know he's on
essentially
Twitter.
just drop him like he doesn't mind. He said he doesn't mind DMs and discussing stuff in more detail. If people want to know something more about what he's been discussing, they can take either comments on his YouTubes or drop him a DM. Or even like he even says drop him a DM if you've got a comic idea or something he'll have a look at.
Okay. All right, so we'll move on now to TV and movies, obviously. And we'll get out of the way, I think, probably one of the most darkest topics to come out of the movie industry for a while. And that's, of course, the ongoing Weinstein scandal. I think
boy,
this,
do I have opinions.
this is literally. I'm trying not to sound dramatic here, but the best way I can think to describe this is something that has literally shaken this whole industry to its core, and I don't think it's going to finish for a while yet. So, EJ, I know you've got some opinions. Let's hear you first.
Okay, so first of all, I hate to have to do this, but we do have to preface this with, if there are legitimate issues of sexual assault in the industry, yes, by all means, come public with those, right? But when you're behind closed doors making a deal for, getting a new movie, to me, that's like prostitution, Pamela Anderson, I don't know if you guys noticed, but just the other day, Pamela Anderson came out and basically said, it was put quite rudely as those girls knew what they were getting into. But the reality is that in a lot of these cases, it was written into their contracts.
Really?
That's
the disturbing thing. Yeah, and the thing is, speaking of contracts, Weinstein had it in his contract that, if there was sexual assault allegations or whatever else, any compensation had to come out of Weinstein's paycheck, not the company's paycheck. So sorry to butt in, EJ. I worked in the industry briefly in Vancouver for a while, and even then, it's been an open secret for as long as forever. And
it's the casting couch.
Yeah. But at the same time, he had such an influence over the industry. He could literally go do what I want, or you're never working in this town again, sort of thing. So there was that power dynamic, and so it's just. But the amount of covering up for him is just ridiculous.
Yeah, well, I worked in TV for a little while. I was on the set of Eureka. It's this little shitty ass little sci-fi show.
A town called Eureka.
Yeah, it was about a town called Eureka. Yeah,
that's it. Yeah, my wife used to watch it.
Yeah. It had like Felicia Day and Will Wheaton and all them.
Rat face.
Oh, joy.
Sorry. Please continue.
I'm not gonna. I got stories. I can't tell them publicly, but I got stories.
We'll talk afterwards.
But even then, it was pretty common. Like I remember one night actually going out for drinks with one of the actors on the show, and he was just kind of casually discussing, like, oh yeah, well, this is how so and so got their part, and so and so's gay, and this is how they got their part, and I'm like, what the hell? Now once again, this is coming from like secondhand, right? So like I can't 100% independently verify any of this, but at the same time, like the idea of the casting couch, that's been in place since like the 40s.
Oh, that's been around forever, since the industry started. Basically.
Yeah, it's just like, hey, you want to get in here? We'll do this for me, and
right.
There's plenty of people.
My back and I'll scratch yours, kind of thing. Yeah.
There's plenty of people out there, men and women, who are completely willing to do that to get ahead.
Yeah, one of the things too is, like, you kind of touched on it a bit there, Justin, is that Weinstein. When you look at this, you have to look at this through a very particular lens, because Weinstein is a moneymaker. He has made many, many people many, many billions of dollars. Excuse me. And if it's one thing we've seen time and time again, is that when you have somebody that's making you money, you're going to have people in that industry that are going to protect the flow of that money. Because if you're a producer, you're going to get special treatment. There's, it comes down to, there's a set of rules for normal people, and then there's a set of rules for people who are making you money. And that was very much the case with Weinstein. So you have to kind of look at it in that regard, just beyond the idea of the casting couch in general. We're talking obviously there's an element of the casting couch there, but there's more the element that this guy makes a lot of people a whole lot of money, and people don't want to upset that flow. So, while it was an open secret, as many people have said, people weren't going to upset the flow. They weren't going to tip over the apple cart. And, that's the biggest problem there, is that, I hate to make it such an easy thing, but when you boil it all down, it's, money is the root of all evil. And that's very much what the case was with this. It was very much people protecting their income sources. And it sucks because a lot of people got taken advantage, and a lot of people got used and abused, and people like, what's her name from, who was in Blade Runner? Oh God, what the fuck's her name? Sean Young, thank you. Yeah, Sean Young even said that. She had come out and said that she told Weinstein to fuck off, and you saw her career was about to explode after Blade Runner, and then it just kind of didn't really go anywhere. And this was something that was another open secret that Weinstein was kind of cock blocking her, basically, for lack of a better way of putting it, to be indelicate. So yeah, this is at the root, this is a problem with money, but then that creates all these other secondary and tertiary problems where, this turns into, you have this thing with Bryan Singer, and where they had these parties where they would fucking prostitute out teenage boys and all that. Allegedly.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
For any lawyers listening, allegedly.
Allegedly.
Yeah. The
But
Bryan
these were
Singer
all
one.
open secret things, though.
Yeah,
Same thing with Kevin Spacey too. It's like, this is an open secret. So
Help! I've escaped from Kevin Spacey's basement.
yeah. The fucking family.
So now, Seth MacFarlane's brilliant because now everyone's going through all the back catalogue of Family Guy looking for all the other references. I have to actually. The Bryan Singer thing is, the guy is accusing him is a serial accuser. He's one of those ones who seems to do it for attention.
Yeah,
So,
but he's not the only one.
and
That's the thing.
Yeah,
he's not the only one.
I think what the biggest shock for people is they got a moment, like the general public got a sort of a brief look into how the sausage is made as they say.
You couldn't have picked a better analogy.
That's it. It's Otto von Bismarck, the famous diplomat, said, some people, if you don't want to know, if you don't have a strong stomach, you shouldn't see how the sausage is made. And
Exactly.
But what shocked a lot of people, I think, was the extent that the quote unquote media establishment was going to basically cover up and hide what he was up to, and then everyone else going, oh yeah, this has been an open secret, we all knew about this. And the fact that you've got multiple European governments looking into trafficking and all sorts, and he had one of the Weinstein European office was basically Buddy Weinstein's pimp to find him girls when he was over there. I think people were sort of, like I said, shocked by the depths and depravity of it, because it had been covered up for that long. Now, and I'm torn between this one. It's like, I want legitimate, predatory people like this removed from the industry, but you've also then got the opposite side of the coin, is I do not particularly want people to sort of just go point and re. Right.
Yeah.
My response.
Oh, you mean
to
like
any
the Me Too thing?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
I don't want the flip side is anyone being able to point at any person in a position of authority and go, oh, at some point he touched me, and have the court of public opinion just lynch them before anything else happened.
Yeah.
The one that comes to mind that I was really kind of, heartbroken for, but he kind of hung himself by his own petard, was John Lasseter of Disney, Pixar, right? When all this happened, he had a couple of employees basically point and re, and you read his apology, and you're like, you haven't done anything wrong, dude. He's admitting to, basically just, essentially head pats and good job pats on the head sort of thing, and the poor guy was just flagellating himself, and you're like, you haven't done anything wrong in the scheme of things, but you've pretty much damned yourself by coming out with that public opinion, of that public apology. There's that as well, and you're just sort of seeing a few that have come out and gone, they're clearly the people they're accusing have just clearly gone, no, this is completely false, but then come out with the apology. Oh well, if I did do that, ... And you're like, well, you've gone and you might as well just quit the industry now. You're done.
But well, you're really stuck between a rock and a hard place there, right? Because like in most of these situations, you've got the company coming down saying, "Hey, if you apologize, we'll be able to back you up. But if you don't apologize, we're washing our hands."
Yeah.
Right. So it puts them really in between a rock and a hard place, you know, and it really just comes down to what's more important to you. Do you want to keep your job and suffer your reputation, or do you just want to, you know, at least be able to stand on your own two feet, but you don't have a job anymore, right? So,
right, and you know the problem, the bigger problem is that people can't stand their ground anymore. Like you could, like, because of the court of public opinion issue, you can't say, you know what, I didn't do this. You can't just be like, I didn't do this. You know, I'm planting my feet here. You know, even like even if you didn't do it, you can't do that anymore because there is such a big backlash because of things like Twitter and Facebook and all these other places where the mob just fucking is voracious. They're just looking for this thing to latch onto to feel good about so they can crucify somebody. And, you know, and companies are aware of that and keenly aware of that.
Yeah, but they're going to do that regardless. And again, if you've someone,
well, yeah, I mean, of course,
yeah, but if you're someone who's legitimate being falsely accused, what they have to do is basically going, nope, these are all completely false accusations. The accusers can talk to my lawyers. And that's it. And then you just let the rabble go on. But if you've genuinely done nothing wrong and it's someone who's making spurious allegations, then the best thing is, nope, these are completely false. You know, I could categorically deny, you know, if you want to keep this up, talk to my lawyer. And that will then shut down pretty much, you know, the rabble will, you know, the public, the torch and pitchfork mob will sort of rabble for a bit, but as soon as, you know, if accusers are basically, you know, because defamation law in the US is a hell of a lot easier than the UK, if, you know, they'll basically go, all right, talk to my lawyer. As soon as you say that, then anyone who's, you know, being a bit spurious about it will shut up because lawyers are involved and suddenly they have skin in the game.
Yeah.
Well, it's more the concerning ones is, you know, like Kevin Spacey's one when he came out and said, with that guy, it's just like, you know, it's the fact that he thought, oh, you know, that was something he could have potentially. I don't remember doing it, but that essentially is something I might have done at the time because, you know, it was the 80s and there was a lot of cocaine. You're like, that's just scary. You know, you know, it's the same thing we saw from a lot of the other bloody male feminist crowd. You come up that as soon as they're accused of something like that, like, oh, I don't remember that specific occurrence, but that sounds like something I do. And that's the more terrifying thing.
Them for us.
Well, I don't know. It's a different industry, but if we look at what happened to Brad Wardell,
yes, that's right.
Yep.
You know, because he was accused and he put his foot down. He was like, "No, talk to my lawyer." He went to court and he was found to be completely like not guilty, not at fault, right?
Still going on to this day, though. People are still bringing that shit up.
Yeah, and the shit's still going on to this day. He's still getting like random attacks. Like fucking, I got involved in defending him one day. And here's the thing, man. I like some of the dude's game. I don't know anything about the dude. I don't want to sit there having to defend people I don't fucking barely know.
I mean, I read one of the stories about what Wardell went through, and he had someone literally drive up to his house and take a photograph of it and put it on social media as a threat. And he said, I've spoken to him a couple of times on Twitter, and he seems like a nice guy. Yeah, but yeah, once you're in the court of public opinion's eye, and they've got their claws out for you, as we've seen thanks to the Me Too hashtag, you're effectively finished. Well,
I think this is going to lead to like a kind of a rewriting of the contracts, of the cultural contracts, whatever you want to call it, about how like these industries work, right? Because now you have to fucking provide yourself protection. You know what I mean?
Well, the backlash is already happening because of the Me Too stuff, where high-end businessmen now will refuse to have any form of one-on-one meeting with any woman in their company. They'll insist on either having another man or another woman or multiple people present and in an open space. They refuse to go on like just general coffee breaks or lunch breaks, things like anything like that.
Yeah, and then they call that sexist.
And I basically turn around and like, no, that's not sexist. This is what you dipshits did.
Right. Yeah. That's something that's happened in teaching for a while now, where male teachers are told, like, if you're going to have a meeting with a female student, make sure somebody else is there, because there was such a big problem with students making claims against male teachers that they're like, oh, he touched me, or he did this, or he implied this or that and the other. And these teachers were just getting shit canned right out the gate. They're like, just at the implication of it. It's like no investigation, just at the implication. So they are told, if you are going to have a meeting with somebody, if you're going to be talking with a woman and you're a male teacher, make sure you have somebody else there to back you up, just in case they make some fucked up claims.
But that's the same in corporate world as well. I mean, I work out in the corporate sphere, and again, it's the unwritten rule. Any guy who's got any sense about them is like, yeah, if you're having a meeting, and this is, and I hate that this is the attitude out there, but it's logical self-preservation. That you don't have single meetings with women under who are your direct reports or even your equals. You have someone else there, or you record it or whatever else. Because it's just, we've all seen a guy, everyone knows someone directly who's been falsely accused and crucified for it. And basically the companies will just look at them and go, yeah, it's easier to sack you. We're not going to defend you. Even though we know you've done nothing wrong, they do the risk analysis and saying basically crying woman trumps everything. Yeah, look, we'll quietly just basically, shove you out the door. And make and pretty much just make your life within the company a hell until you quit. So again,
well, it's the same.
It's gone mainstream. It's just logical protection now, and it's.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm done.
Oh, okay, all right. So it's the same with Linus Torvalds, the creator of Linux, right? He can't go to any of these places without an entourage, essentially, to make sure that he doesn't.
Yeah, because he got screenshots from basically he had the social justice tech crowd who were openly planning in a forum to essentially what they call honeypot him, and he's just gone, I got he says no, I've got documentary evidence. They're out to get me because they just want me out of the industry because they don't like me. So and this is and everyone called him paranoid, and then the evidence got posted, and they went, wow, this is some crazy shit.
Sure. And even in I don't know how the cops operate in your guys' countries, but here in Canada, an officer can find a woman doing drugs or something like that, right? Arrest her, search her, find the drugs, and when it comes time to court, she can turn around and say, "Well, I asked for a female officer, and he didn't provide that," and then
God.
Literally, yeah, and it can be like that, right? And then she gets to walk away scot-free.
Well, there is actually, I do believe that's a component of the U.S. justice system as well. But when it comes to searching, I think that is, I believe, I could be wrong. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's something that's actually handled at the jail. But on scene though, if there's not I don't think there's an issue with it if you're just doing a basic search, not like a strip.
Oh yeah, no, a strip search.
The same goes here in Australia. Yeah. Basically, a case of they do their basic general check over of your outside of your body.
Yeah.
Like the pat down, but if it comes down to the need to actual search, they take you into the jail, and they basically have, if you're a man, you have 2 men present. If you're a woman, you have 2 women present.
Yeah.
During a search.
Basically.
I mean, this whole topic, it reminds me of something that kicked up in the UK a couple of years ago now, which was the scandal with Jimmy Savile.
Oh.
Now that was particularly bad because this was a children's entertainer that apparently has over 400 victims to his name.
Yeah, I've heard this.
Yeah, and the worst thing about this was there's a topical quiz show we have over here called Have I Got News For You, where they discuss the week's news and rip the piss out of it in one form or another. And they talked about it when it popped up. And one of the panelists, Ian Hislop, said, have we got any footage of him? Because he was on the show a while back. And the host said, yes, we've got some footage. And they played it. And Savile's sitting there, dressed like a stereotypical paedophile, huge cigar, glasses, and a shell suit on. And they're talking about caravans or motorhomes. And the host said to him, you lived in a caravan for a while, didn't you? And Savile goes, yeah, 12 years lived in one. And Hislop said to him, what do you do in a caravan? And Savile went, anyone I can get my hands on.
Yeah, and the thing is with the Savile thing, I mean, you had back even the late 70s, early 80s, you had one of the I think it was Johnny Rotten of the Sex Pistols, or one of the basically was saying, yeah, he's a pedo. Everyone knows he's a pedo, and the establishment has been covering it up. So I mean, this has been something that was there are comparisons with the Weinstein thing in that, you had the media establishment who was actively covering for the guy for nearly, until he died.
Because he made money.
Essentially, he was hiding in plain sight the whole time.
Yep.
And apparently, Saville's biography, I'm told, I haven't read it myself, if you actually read it and in certain places read between the lines, he's essentially admitting to what he did.
Joe Rogan recently had somebody on his podcast who talked about knowing someone who was providing children for Michael Jackson. So it's not just an open secret there, man. It's like there's it's talked about in hushed tones, and nobody wants to admit it, right? Because it's one of those things that you just, you don't want to talk about because it's so dark.
Right?
Well, no, it's something that people want to protect because these people are money makers. I mean, Michael Jackson, it's this, this song is old as time. There's two sets of rules, one for them and one for us. The common people have a different set of rules than the fucking elites have. And Michael Jackson was an elite. He had a lot of money. He made a lot of people a lot of money. So they got to fucking protect that income source, man.
Because I remember after the Jackson
with Michael Jackson as well, it's like you've also got to take into the fact that he literally had Peter Pan syndrome.
Yeah.
So he may not necessarily have been doing anything sort of diddly with the kids, but he was in such a mindset that he wanted to be a kid because he never got to be one. Pretty much from the get-go, he was forced to be a man, essentially, forced to basically bring in the money, forced to do all this. So they may have been bringing him children, but he may not necessarily be a kiddie diddler, but he may have just been exercising his fantasy of being a kid.
I remember
that's
after the
bizarre as fuck, but I don't see it as like that ridiculously. Like,
and after he died, a lot of the kids who were said to have accused him came out and said, their parents coached them because money. So Michael Jackson's that's one of those grey area outlier cases where he was one of those guys where you saw a whole heap of opportunistic people potentially taking advantage of someone who wasn't in their best mind state. So, there are much more serious ones. Again, Spacey, you've got Jimmy Savile. There's a couple of other UK. There's all sorts where it's just like it's not a grey area one. It's these are serial offenders. Yeah. And there's a long list of people who've gone and filed police reports and everything else, and nothing's ever come of it. I mean, you look, was it Corey Feldman? Yeah. He's now that he's got his head straight, he's out there naming names. He's filed police reports. He's basically said, look, I've gone to the cops multiple times. I've named names, dates, times, and places. Nothing has ever been done about it. And he's now getting to the point where, he's managed to find a bunch of the old police interviews on
he's
tape.
really going hard, man.
Yeah, and I don't blame him because he's like, because he's sick of this shit. And as soon as he came out with the latest stuff, funnily enough, the LA cops went, we're doing a drug raid on your tour bus, right? It's the same with Rose McGowan. Rose McGowan grew up in a bloody pedo sex cult. She was one of those ones who grew up in the, they're known as the Family these days. I try to remember what they were called. I think it was the Children of God back in the day. But she said, this is an open secret. And she was starting to name names. And then all of a sudden she gets, cops going, we want you for drugs charges. It's just, the timing is just blatant and it's ridiculously obvious. So, look, I think we're going to see more of it in 2018. So
I mean, like I said, I don't think it's done yet, but we'll move off this one now because I think we could be on it forever.
Okay.
It's a big and nasty topic. So
So one that I think Scott mentioned to me earlier in the week, which I'd not noticed, was Disney buying out part of Fox so they could get access to the Marvel franchises again.
It's in the works right now. This is an interesting development.
Because one of the parts, again, Scott had pointed out to me, but I'd heard about it before, was the whole thing with the Fantastic Four movies. Because Marvel had grown so unsatisfied with them. They essentially
I'm calling it right now. The next big phase of Marvel is going to be all based around the X-Men.
Yeah.
If they get those fucking properties back from Fox, it will. You goddamn better believe it.
Yeah.
But they just announced for the Marvel stuff. They just announced Phase 4. There's 20
yeah.
movies in Phase 4. But yeah, if they get Fox, because I think they're offering Disney's offering Fox about something like $60 billion or something. Basically, Disney's just getting a check and just adding zeros to the end until Fox says yes.
Mhm.
Because they know Fox movies is in a precarious position because they've just created bomb after bomb after bomb, Deadpool notwithstanding, that they're in serious financial straits. And Disney's basically, they want all those properties, all those comic properties that Fox is sitting on, not to mention Alien franchise, Predator franchise. There's all this stuff that Fox has been sitting on and not using to prevent other people from using it, that Disney wants. So yeah, we'll see it happening. And then, you know, because I think Disney's looked at the Fox, all the franchises and stuff that Fox is sitting on, and they're just horrifically underperforming because Fox is just pushing them out. They don't care about the scripts. There's stuff in the scripts that's just like Prometheus. There's stuff. There's lines in Prometheus that are barely even English sentences, and are just so terribly made. Like it's just, yeah. But at the same time, I'm like, yay, they get out of Fox's hands, but I don't want to see Disney just becoming just this essentially a monopoly in the industry. Yeah. I mean, that it's in itself is sort of terrifying for other reasons.
Because there was a thing with the Fantastic Four movies, because obviously Marvel or Disney, whichever, had grown so unsatisfied with them that the Fantastic Four comic series was ended. The characters were taken off of posters out of comics and so forth. It's like they were erased from existence because they didn't want to be seen to have anything to do with those movies, especially the last one, which was such an absolute bomb.
Fan Force Stick was so bad.
Yeah, Stan Lee has actually stepped in and made it very clear that he never wanted any movies or anything done with the Fantastic Four because he found that they were too anachronistic and too stuck in the time that they were created, and he never liked them.
Yeah.
So he basically put this caveat in: is like, there's been no comics, no cartoons, no movies, no nothing more made of it.
Now, the next topic I'm going to have a little laugh with here. I'm going to say the title, and I'm going to let Wombat and Peter go at it, because I know they've got some strong feelings on this one. And that's, of course, Rick and Morty.
Rick and Morty was awesome. I just wish they'd made a third series.
Yeah. For those who don't know, I'll jump in this quickly before Wombat goes off again. So, they employed some new writers for the third series, a group of women in particular. Names escape me, but it's relevant at the moment. And they were interviewed for one of these online websites about what they thought of the series, and in particular how the female characters are used. And I've got the last quote here of what they said, and see if you can hear the problem when I say it. "We found the problem and we're exposing it. I think resisting the change will make things worse. It's good we pointed out a problem, and I hope Adult Swim is going to try and change it by hiring more female showrunners."
Yes, just bend over and take it, fans. Fucking Dan Harmon. He needs to go to therapy, and he needs to figure out why he's such a self-sabotaging. Just dude, what is wrong with you? He has a history of doing this. He comes up with successful things, and then about 3 seasons in, just decides, you know what? I'm being successful. I have a fair bit of, undealt with self-loathing. You know what? I'm just going to blow off both feet. And then basically they hired a bunch of new writers for season 3. Now, I was going, oh dear, they have diversity writers. But to be fair, I sort of went, okay, I'll look up their writing credits. I'm happy to be wrong. I looked up their writing credits. Most of them were either uncredited. They'd worked on like the late series Simpsons episodes. When Simpsons has completely jumped the shark. Yeah. Things like Angry Orange,
annoying orange.
Oh, it's just I've just looked at this and just a thump as my head hits the desk. Funnily enough, one of my workmates and I, we sort of go around the corner to get some lunch at sort of a supermarket, and we sort of were talking about it in very sort of muted tones, and a couple of the girls who work there they heard us talking about Rick and Morty, and they're huge fans. And we sort of talking like, so how do you like the new series? And you can see the conflict within them, and you're like, and I've sort of, she's trying to find the words, and I'm like, I know what you're trying to say. You want to like it, but you can't. And she's like, yeah. Right. There were some episodes that were written by the original writers, but the ones that were written by the new ones just stuck out so bad, and it was just. Oh,
Let's put it this way. Let's put it this way. They had an episode where they had memes of what was that one with Angela, Queen of Hell thing?
Unsolicited
Opinions on Israel.
Yeah.
You're welcome for
various
keeping
other
that trending
memes
for a
in
while
one
there.
episode.
Yeah.
Oh man.
But yeah, that's that. I thought I'd put that one in quickly because I wanted to.
Oh,
hear.
yeah. Again, you saw the change. It was all about us making Summer a strong, independent. Oh God, the fact that they had the whole episode around Beth and that getting therapy for the divorce thing, and that was the bloody Pickle Rick one. I'm like, yeah, I want to see more Pickle Rick because oh my God, the B story in that one makes me just want to shove a fork in my eyes and just end it. It's just, this is torture. It was, and that was the tragic thing. I mean, you had 2 series of a really awesome show, and then the 3rd series just completely just killed it. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah, moving on.
I'll just say, as far as the writing goes, it's there was just so many inconsistencies that I would expect this more from a 80s, 90s cartoon as for inconsistencies. In that particular episode that had the stupid meme shit crammed in. Towards the end, they'd established before through the episode that Rick had lost his portal gun, they were way off whooping somewhere else out in space. And suddenly at the end, Beth and Summer turn up. Out of nowhere. With no explanation of how the fuck they got there, where they came from, or what the fuck they're doing there. Or why.
Right, we'll move on to the next one for Wombat Explodes.
Moments like that would just.
Yeah, let's move on for Wombat Explodes. All right, so the next one's going to be an interesting one. Because obviously on Gamers Talking, as Scott and Wombat know, we've talked about crowdfunded games quite often. But on here, we've never talked about crowdfunded films. And this year we had the general release of The Red Pill. Now, Now we're going to cover this in 2 stages. First of all, the content of the film itself, and then what happened afterwards. But I will point out for ethics, shall we say, that I was a backer of this documentary on Kickstarter.
And I was a former honey badger that actually who were very instrumental in pushing the Red Pill as well. For those who don't know,
and I am the branch director of the Canadian Association for Equality for my city, and we did host a screening of the film. So I wanted to see this film made because whilst I'm not an out-and-out MRA as such, I do believe in some of the issues that she talked about, in particular men getting screwed over with custody of their kids and so forth. And I watched this film and was quite moved by it. Now, I'm aware, obviously, there were perhaps criticisms with the way Cassie was asking her questions and so forth, perhaps she didn't push some people hard enough. I mean, who's seen this and what are your thoughts on the content before we move on to what happened afterwards? Okay, who wants to go first?
You go, man.
Okay. All right. Well, fair enough. Now, I might be a little biased because I've actually talked to Cassie, right? But I think I do agree with some of the criticisms about her not asking hard enough questions and just kind of going calm, right? However, since the film has been released, Cassie has been releasing these weekly updates, behind the scenes things, and actually a lot of the questions that probably should have been in the film were asked. She just didn't put them in the film.
Okay.
Yeah. For time concerns and such. So yeah. So she's making all that stuff available though.
And I think that her idea in going into the film was that she wanted it to serve as more of a tutorial, like this is what's actually going on, guys. Right? Challenge the ideas yourselves, but this is what's happening.
Yeah.
And for that, I respect it because it is definitely something that needs to come out. Yeah.
Because I sat and watched the film with my wife because it's on Amazon Video. And cause I told her about the film, she was a bit about it. And I said, look, trust me, just sit and watch this with me, see what you think. And some of the stories in particular, especially the one where the guy talks about the long battle he fought with his ex-wife
Mhm.
over custody of the son before he got so sick he couldn't continue. My wife was just literally sitting there shaking her head.
There are people
She couldn't-
crying.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it still moves me to this day, which is weird because not many documentaries have done that. But
Mhm.
mainly, I suppose, because I've known these custody things with other people I've known. I mean, there was one guy who I used to talk to. He's a gamer down in Wales, and he and his missus went through quite a nasty split, and they had a daughter together. And to get back at him, she moved, and she didn't tell him where she'd moved to. And the months he spent trying to figure out where they'd gone were so agonizing for him. And when he eventually found her, he had to pay a solicitor over here so that he could get access to his daughter. And of course, this proved very costly for him, as you can imagine, because solicitors aren't cheap. But the effects it had on him for a while were bad.
Mhm.
The
go on,
thing with
Scott, sorry.
like EJ had alluded to, when you can see the stuff that Cassie's put out, like supplementary stuff, you have to understand that this documentary was whittled down from hundreds and hundreds of hours of interviews. You're talking about just an amazing amount of stuff that she had to compile and edit down to a point where it's an actual usable thing, where it actually creates a coherent message or coherent through line of conversation. So like a lot of people are like, yeah, she's softballing it, she's not going hard enough. But like EJ said, she has been releasing on a pretty consistent basis supplementary interviews and pieces of things that didn't make it into the final cut. So this is it's great the Red Pill started the conversation that it did, and it's great to see the kind of pushback that it's gotten, because there have been a lot of people who have unfairly categorized it as this this MRA screed and woman hating and all this kind of thing. But when you watch it, I would sincerely find it hard that anybody could watch this and not empathize with what's going on with these stories. It is very moving.
And of course,
yeah,
sorry,
so
go
it's
on, beg your
just
pardon.
well, just to finish up real quickly, it's a very moving film about these people's experiences, but it's also you can't. People want to when you're talking about Big Red, Chancey Bangs or
Yeah, when
Banks
she
or
was
whatever
on
her
that,
name is. Right. She is one of these people that's, you confront her with an idea and she's like, I don't want to hear it. I don't care. I've already made up my mind. And that kind of bums me out, because I think if people like her, people that have that kind of mindset would watch this and actually, engage in some, empathy, human understanding, then these sorts of things might be able to change. But the fact is that when you look at this stuff in a broader context, and I said I was going to finish quickly, but now I'm rambling. I'm sorry. Feminists have worked within the legal system to create these situations whereby men are at a gross disadvantage just because the fact that they're men. When you talk about divorce, when you talk about child custody rights and all these other things, and the Red Pill is a conversation that people need to have. Frankly, it's a very like I said, I used to be part of the Honey Badgers, and that was one of the things that they talked about on a very regular basis, were these types of issues. And these are conversations that need to be had, and the Red Pill is a really good way into those conversations, because it's not a beat you over the head with it kind of thing. It's not like, she's not preaching at you, because she was a feminist and she'd kind of, gone through this journey of changing who she was and how she thought about things. So I think it's an important film. I think people should definitely watch it.
Go on,
so I have to, for disclosure, I don't have any ethical conflicts when it comes to this film. So.
Okay.
Go on.
I think we should sort of move on to the reaction, because even like you were saying, even as pared down and as mild as it was, the fact that she got, especially down, I can speak for the Australian media, she got crucified in the Australian media.
Oh yeah.
They openly lied. And the thing is, we had protests about the screenings, and when screenings got cancelled and rescheduled and the Australian media was just openly lying and we haven't seen it, we're just going with the narrative.
Oh right.
I remember that clip. yeah, but you had people down here who went in with openly went in with a feminist sort of idea, went in, looked at, saw the film, and they came out crying. They were genuinely traumatized, as in, I need to rethink everything and all my positions. So it did have a serious effect on a lot of people. I think that's why, in a lot of cases, why it got such a nasty backlash. It's just like, no, do not look at the man behind the curtain. No, ignore the big red behind the curtain. We'll be fine. Just
Yeah.
And actually,
it does come across
to
to me. Oh, go on. Hang on a sec. It does come across to me as one of the biggest public lynchings of a woman that I think, or of any person, sorry, that I've ever seen in my life. And I think it acted as a prelude to essentially what happened with Lacey Green later on in the year. She obviously said she wanted to open up a conversation, talk to people on the opposing side. It was something like that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And yeah, sorry, EJ, I cut you off, but you make your point now. Beg pardon.
Oh, I was just gonna say that I can attest to the feminists seeing the film and then coming out like questioning themselves, because I saw it firsthand. When we hosted our screening, we had just one feminist showed up, and she was very clear to point out that she was a feminist. So it was kind of funny. But we were like, yeah, just come on in, watch the film. Right? She sat and watched the film, and then she walked away. Like, it's kind of funny. She had a Margaret Atwood book tucked under her arm, and she's making sure like the spine was showing, like so. And,
I just want to be very clear that everybody knows I'm here as a feminist.
Yeah, exactly, right. And then
but
when we handled the Q&A, because I was up there with one of our other members doing the Q&A and answering questions, we had a bunch of libertarians there too. That was fun. But the first question I asked is like, who felt like this film really changed their views on a lot? And the first hand that shot up was the feminist, and the look on her face was like her jaw was open, like she could not believe what she just saw. Right. So it definitely has an effect, and that's the person, and those are the people that it needs to touch, So
yeah, because I watched the interview with Cassie J that, funny enough, the Honey Badgers had done, where she talked about it afterwards, and the bit where she broke down, I got to be honest, I sort of froze watching this. For shit, man, this woman has been dragged through the mud sideways, and it's horrible to see someone sort of cry like that because of what's been done to them. But of course, even as I think as was raised earlier, a positive effect on her herself, because she had been quite argumentative with her boyfriend because of her beliefs. But after that experience, she realized that she was in the wrong a lot and sorted herself out. And they're now engaged to be married at the time of this recording. So good luck to them both. I really do wish them the best.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, she is someone else. Yeah, she is someone else I'd love to get on the podcast. I really would.
Oh, I can honestly tell you that the Australian media that pissed all over her got absolutely raked over the coals and torn to shreds.
Oh, I saw some of that.
Viciously torn to shreds. And the fact that this guy, that he is very antagonistic, this guy Bolt. He's very antagonistic, and he tends to be very much either can stand him or you can't. And the fact that he interviewed her correctly and laid everything out clearly, to the point that everyone was just like, wow, okay, we get it. To have him do that just shocked the shit out of everyone. To have him sitting there going, he did the entire interview process of, tell me about yourself, tell me about your film, tell me about everything. I'm not going to interject anything. You just tell me. You're doing an actual job of an interviewer, saying, yeah, tell me everything, explain everything to me, and I'll ask for clarification, instead of jumping down a throat going, oh, this, that, the otherwise, and have him, of all people, do such a good interview, basically slung it even more shit at the morning show and all that, going, look, this guy who's basically one of the love it or hate it people in Australia just gave the best interview of the year to this woman.
Yeah.
Because he could actually, shut his mouth, keep his opinions to himself, and do the job of an interviewer.
Yeah, for those that don't know, the one Peter's referring to is he's a commentator / journalist in Australia called Andrew Bolt. He's a conservative, and I hate him on some things, but I can't fault him on other issues. And the interview he gave was the most fair and even-handed interview that she got in Australia. The rest of the time, she basically got on there and she just got absolutely crucified. The worst one was the floating around was basically you had a morning show host.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah,
was
and the thing
terrible.
is, but the thing is, I just laugh at him because he's a 5-foot manlet who does game shows when he's not on morning
the
shows.
thing
So
that was so bad about it was that they were so dismissive of it, just so blatantly outright dismissive. Like when she was trying to talk, whatever. You know, they were kind of like hand waving her and going, whatever. Yeah, okay, no, we sent you the thing. My producer spoke to your producer and and they verified that you had it. Oh yeah, no, whatever. You know, they kept doing that shit. I'm like, how do these people have jobs? I'm like, what the fuck is this? This is so fucked up.
And that's the thing. It's oh no, we can't go against the narrative.
I know.
Yeah, no, that's how they have jobs because that's they were doing.
It's part of the culture of the business that they're in. Yeah, from where they work.
But of course, there was a light at the end of the tunnel. It was entered into the I'm pronouncing this word right. Idlewild International Festival of Cinema. Idlewild, thank you. I beg your pardon. And it won 3 awards for excellence in directing documentary, excellence in producing a documentary, and best of the festival. So I think she's got a good career ahead of her. I really do.
It got for those that would actually screen it got good critical acclaim. It's just you had unfortunately the media and the Twitter torch and pitchfork mob just go after for everything because again they just didn't want anyone else to see it, and the fact that it was having such an effect on people, I think the rumor of that got out pretty quick. And they're like, quick, shut it down. Nope, we just have to shut it down. No one can see it.
Yep.
Yeah,
because it's like, the last thing feminists want, they don't want to see these, these damn dirty MRAs seen in a positive light, like they could be victims. I mean, feminism has they have the market cornered on victim bucks, so they don't want anybody else cashing in on their victim bucks.
And it's funny how true that actually is, because like down when you get down to it, funding, it's all about funding.
Absolutely. That's something we covered a lot on the Honey Badgers. Keenly aware of it.
Yeah. So, oh man, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. Now we'll go like one smaller topic before we go into some of the movies and TV that came out this year, and this one's a kind of a bookend to a topic we mentioned last stream, which was, of course, the Ghostbusters 2016 film.
Oh, God.
Yeah, wait for it. You're going to like this one. This floated around on Twitter for a while. Now, the film had its obvious reactions and so forth, and it is officially a box office bomb. Dan Aykroyd was interviewed on the Sunday brunch show for Channel 4. Scott knows where I'm going with this already.
Oh, yeah.
And he was asked about the film, and he said he was proud of it. And then he goes like this. He says, the director, he spent too much on it. He didn't shoot scenes we suggested to him and several scenes that were going to be needed. And he said, no, we don't need them. Then we tested the movie and they needed them. And he had to go back. And this part, he looked directly at the camera and he said, about 30 to 40 million in reshoots. So he will not be back on the Sony lot anytime soon.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Here's a bus. Me throwing you under it.
Yeah,
beautiful.
Yeah.
It was absolutely beautiful.
The worst part about that is remember that email leak, the Sony email leak?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We found the treatment to the Ghostbusters film, and literally he's just he's typing out, he's shooting from the hip. He's just pitching this crazy ass idea, And I'm reading and I'm like, fuck, man, that's ridiculous. No, it's like a musical number. No. And then the movie came out. And for a while, I was fooled into thinking, oh, good. At least they didn't go with that until the credits rolled. And then you saw the actual musical scene that they had actually shot the freaking musical scene. And I'm like...
Anyway, we'll close that one there. But yeah, that interview, when I saw that, it was the perfect bookend to it because Aykroyd clearly did not give a fuck when he said that. Fair play to him.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, we had a lot of movies and TV shows come out. We can't cover all for time because otherwise we'll be here till 2 a.m. my time.
But we have to cover the epic and culturally important Emoji Movie.
That's coming up because I thought I can't not talk about that. Now, the first one I wanted to talk about, which was one of the few films. No, I've been to cinema twice this year, and this was one of them. And this was Logan.
Ooh.
Now, comic book movies, they're a bit hit and miss, but this one I thought was fantastic because they closed off the character real well. Yes. Massive financial success, over $500 million profit. What did you guys think? Because I've obviously made my feelings clear.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, look, while I'm not a huge Logan fan of Wolverine / Logan fan, I actually caught it in the plane on the way over to BlizzCon this year,
Yeah.
and yeah, look, it was a really my only kind of complaint with it was probably it was a little bit rambly, but it was kind of if you look at it in the terms of it's a western, and it's essentially the old cowboy having his final he knows and that's the thing. It was kind of thing again. Logan knew he was dying. It was just trying to basically close up all the loose ends on his life and put everything to bed. And looking at it in the big picture of the movie as well as the character, it was just superbly done.
Yeah.
So I can't fault it for that. It was
No. I mean, the part that got me most, and I've got to be honest, I don't react emotionally to many films these days because some of their shitty quality. And then, spoiler alert here for anyone that's interested. The scene at the end where he's dying and she's holding his hand and she calls him daddy. I literally choked up in the cinema next to my wife because I thought that was beautiful.
Waterworks time, dude. Total
it was.
Waterworks.
I mean, again, I'll admit it fully. I don't
manly
usually.
tears we shed.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
But it's I suppose it's partly because I'm a dad myself now. But when she said that, I was like, wow. There you go. Long time since I've reacted like that to any film.
Yeah.
I think it was Armageddon, 1996.
Oh, God.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts before I move on to the next one?
Oh,
I just really enjoyed it. I thought it was what I wanted.
Yeah, there's one thing else I should mention. Anyone who hasn't seen it, I'd advise buying the Blu-ray because on the second disc they've done the noir version of it, where it's in black and white.
What?
And I'll tell you,
Oh,
I'll tell you what, it suits it perfectly.
oh, right on.
Yeah,
Weird.
it literally does. So I'd suggest anyone that hasn't seen it, check it out because it's a brilliant version of the film.
Yeah, I would say, if I could say one thing about it,
Yeah,
Logan is, it is the movie I had dreamed that it would be, and I was shocked by that.
Yeah.
It is a movie that it's not a superhero movie. It is
it's not.
it is a drama. It is about family. It's about a legacy.
Yep.
God, it's about so much, but it's the superhero element of this film is so minor. It's so minor, and I hope the people that look at it and think, oh, it's a Wolverine movie. It's an X-Men movie. I hope they can get past that and just kind of go and see it because it is a brilliant film. It really is. It really is.
Yeah, I totally got Unforgiven vibes off of it.
yes.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely.
A major
Yeah.
positive fact they did the character of X-23 right because I was reading the comic a little while ago before I actually canned Marvel, and it's an awful version of the character, but in the movie, she is brilliant, especially when she pops her claws and she gets going. Fuck me. they don't spare anything. I mean, when she starts gutting these people left, right, and sides with either her claws or her feet claws, it's brilliant to watch. And the actress that played her, Daphne Keenan, fantastic.
Yep.
So,
Nailed it.
yeah, props to the movie for that. Right. So for the next one, I'm going to sort of take a bit of cover here because in case any anime fans come after me. Because the three words that would strike fear into the hearts of any anime fans are live action adaptation, especially Hollywood versions. And of course, we had Ghost in the Shell. Yeah, we had Ghost in the Shell this year. Now, the clusterfuck of this movie.
This is going to be a hot button for me.
Yeah,
and me.
This is the interesting
And
part.
me.
I'm going to
Alright,
read
I
this,
just didn't
I'll
like
read this
it.
bit out and I'll take it out. Now, obviously, the film was made. It's shit. They even tried blaming its perceived failure on the reviews at one point.
Because that worked so good on Ghostbusters.
Yeah, but the interesting part was a reporter actually interviewed some Japanese American actors who actually said that the Japanese natives were not bothered at all by the casting due to the standards of white beauty held in Japan.
Yeah,
and
actually,
they also
that man Yuta, he's got a YouTube channel. He actually did that, and most people were like, whatever, I don't care.
Yeah, and they also felt the casting was immaterial due to the franchise's themes of self-identity and blurring the natural bodies,
which were completely ignored within the movie, by the way. Sorry.
Even Mamoru Oshii, if I'm saying his name right, who directed the anime movies, was not bothered by it at all. But obviously, the critics otherwise and audiences in the West really didn't like it. Now I'm going to take cover.
Who wants to go first?
Yeah,
Go
here
on.
comes the artillery. Yeah, where to begin? As soon as they live action adaptations, anytime I see them, like we've just seen the trailer for the James Cameron live action
Alita.
adaptation of Adelita. Oh my god, Uncanny Valley, kill me.
You know what? I don't hate
yeah.
it. I don't hate it.
Look,
Not yet.
yeah, we'll see. But no, with the Ghost in the Shell one, it was just I didn't give a shit about the casting. It was just, yes, you have to have a big Hollywood name, but at the same time, my biggest thing was they gutted the story. Just they, I love the movies. I love the series because it's so, multi-layered and the stories are interesting. It's very, very much shades of grey. There is no black and white thing, and they turned it into a generic, I have amnesia, blah, 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 which never happens in the freaking universe. She knows exactly who she is, and she knows her past. There's none of that crap in the comics or the movies or anything. It's just like, oh, God damn it, Hollywood, just back away. just get away from it and stay away.
That's the problem with all adaptions, I find, is that no matter what it is, they always do that. Even when it's Japan doing it, they always take the characters as they were, gut them and turn them into something else, and it just fails miserably. No one has done a good a proper good adaptation of any anime or manga yet.
Yeah.
I don't know. Dragon Ball was pretty good.
Oh God. I can't comment on that.
I'm messing with you.
I am probably one of the most vociferously vocal people about this subject. I devoted so much time on it on Big and Robot, my former show with my buddy Mark, that people, some friends and some other people and some people that used to listen used to say that they're going to set up a swear jar. So every time I would mention Ghost in the Shell, that I had to put into the swear jar because, it became a running theme with me. I hated this idea from the beginning. I fucking was completely opposed to it because I knew exactly what they were going to do. And part of the thing that becomes painfully apparent when you start watching the movie is that Rupert Sanders, aside from being a hack, and if you've seen his filmography, he's a fucking hack. Just everything he does is fucking terrible. It's fucking pablum. It's just
Scott, surely you didn't enjoy Snow White and the Huntsman.
Dude, oh, it's so bad.
Right, yeah, carry on anyway. I don't want to
he is like the equivalent of Brett Ratner, but with less explosions. But he's garbage though. But the thing is though, when you're watching the Ghost in the Shell movie with Scarlett Johansson, obviously they had to, like, Wombat said, they had to put somebody in there that's going to put asses in seats because they want to make money first and foremost. But Sanders and the people writing this movie don't understand that universe. They have no real comprehension of what that is supposed to be about, like about the idea of self and about, these other themes that are very present within the manga and within the animated series and the various movies. They gloss over all of that. And the funniest thing is when you're watching this film, if like most people aren't going to notice this because they probably haven't seen the 1995 animated film. But Sanders apes scenes almost directly from that without understanding the context, or he takes scenes out of context completely. Like there's this one scene where you see they're doing these panning shots. It's like I think it's like 2 minutes and 15 seconds of just shots of the city, shots from an eye level perspective of people seeing the city and interacting with the city. And then there's this one shot of this plane flying between these two buildings. Like you're looking up and you see this plane going over. And he apes that shot, but it's just like a maybe like an 8-second shot of this plane going over this, and it's directly aping that scene in the animated film. But all the other context of the original film, where there's that like 2.5 minutes of just no talking, just this atmospheric showing off what's going on in the city and showing the interaction between the people and the technology of the city, is completely gone. So he completely misses the context of it, where he's like, oh, we're doing the homage. People that saw the original see this and will be like, oh, look, I know that. I've seen that before. That's familiar. Yeah. That's a thing that I know. And they just don't get it. There is a complete lack of understanding on the part of Sanders and the rest of the filmmakers that did this movie on what this is about. they took something. They're like, well, what's a popular thing in Japan? Oh, Ghost in the Shell is popular. They made a couple of animated series about it. There's 3 or 4 movies about it. That's popular. Let's use that name.
Yeah.
And they fucking bastardized it. They took something that is a very complex, rumination on what it is to be human, and just completely missed the fucking point. And it just drives me nuts because, they're talking about there's supposed to be an Akira remake, and there's supposed to be a this remake and a that remake. And they're not. They don't know what the fuck these things are about, and they're going to ruin it. It is inevitable, absolutely inevitable.
Yeah. Yes, and of course, to go on from that, because obviously there was the Netflix version of Death Note,
which was terrible.
Which also came out. I mean, I sat and watched this with my daughter, who's a big anime fan, and she was not impressed with it. The only thing I will say about Death Note, to be kind to it, was Willem Dafoe's performance as Ryu.
No, he was good.
Redeeming.
Yeah, and again, this was an interesting, because the creators of the original, I can't pronounce their names, goddamn long.
It's okay, don't worry about it.
They said, in a good way, it both followed and diverged from the original work into a film that can be enjoyed, of course, not only by the fans, but also by a much larger audience. I disagree with him on that one, I'm totally honest.
Yeah, absolutely. The characters, here's the thing, they kept the same characters, but they were not at all.
No, they weren't.
Characters. I was a huge fan of the Death Note anime. So and a big part of that was the play between L and Light, right? Yeah. That, it was just this constant stalemate between the two, that they were just, they always had one up on each other, and it was that play. But with the movie, it was like, freaking L lost his mind at one point. That doesn't happen in the anime. Well, it's not like that.
That's what I meant about all these problems with these. Like, even doesn't matter who makes them, they always end up being a case of it's wearing its name and it's wearing its shell, but it's completely empty of what the actual anime, manga, whatever actually was about and what it meant.
Yeah. I mean, L at one point looked like he was about to burst into tears. I don't know how I got through the film, I'll be honest with you.
You know what? I never watched the original anime, but I watched the Netflix movie. And the Netflix movie is just a terrible fucking movie. Regardless of the source material, it's just not a good movie at all. There are so many problems with the fucking thing. You don't even know where to start. So we'll leave that one there, because we could go on forever about that as well. Yeah. Now, to talk about one film which I know fans hated was Alien Covenant. Now again, this is oh shit. Okay, right. I'll get this out of the way quickly. It was a financial success. But a lot of the fans, myself included, because I made the mistake of seeing it at home, fucking hated this movie. As I've just heard,
got away from his Alien franchise, for fuck's sake.
Right. Yeah,
talk about somebody who doesn't understand the franchise. The guy that made it.
He should do. I mean, the funny part about it for me was there was the scene where it's burst out the dude's back, and the woman is trying to shoot it with the shotgun. And
yeah.
And there's somebody on YouTube took that scene and put the Benny Hill music over it.
Now, yakety sax.
Yeah, and it works.
Yeah.
And
look, hey Justin, here, look, let me present something here to you. All right, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna go to an alien planet that we have no idea what it is, what's on it, or anything about it, and we're just gonna put on our fucking parkas and we're gonna go walking around, because that's a great idea. You know,
wearing no protective headgear either.
Yeah, we're gonna explore the Marianas Trench down in the bottom of the ocean. Yeah. We're not gonna go in submarines. We're just gonna dive down there, because that's a great idea. Not having protection.
This seems to be the history that and this is the rumors that have been coming up for ages, that essentially, and this goes back to, I'm happy Disney's buying Fox. This is one of the reasons I'm happy that Fox is going to lose, potentially lose this franchise, in that they seem to hire on these big name directors and give them just turd scripts, and there's no time in the schedule to fix the scripts. It's just like, no, here's your script, we start production next week.
Well, with
the
Ridley
script
Scott, though,
was
you're talking about he's the one who did it, though. He was.
Yeah.
It wasn't like they just gave it to him and said, "Here, make this. We got the script." He was responsible.
Okay.
They're like,
Yeah,
so that's all his fault. That's in his pocket. So yeah.
yeah.
And he's making a fucking another one.
And wait, did you hear the quote that he said there?
Yeah, he wanted
Did
to
you hear the quote that he said there?
the aliens, didn't he?
Yeah, he's like, I'm not really that interested in the aliens, but it's going to be an aliens movie.
Yeah, you just think you've got to be fucking kidding me.
Oh,
And
fucking
yeah, this-
Alzheimer's.
I'm happy
It's a
Fox
bitch.
is getting brought up because I know for a
Hopefully.
fact
Fingers
that
crossed.
they're sitting on multiple scripts for Alien, Predator movies, AVP movies, and multiple other movies that
Oh, you know what, to be fair,
directors
though?
and writers and everyone are salivating over. They know they exist. They're like, we will basically pay you to let us have it to make it, and Fox just keep going, no.
You know,
You
to
know-
be fair, though, did you guys see Predators?
Yes, I did.
I actually like Predators. I thought
was-
that was pretty good.
It
I
I'll
like
wasn't.
give them
Predators.
credit where
So did I.
credit is due.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
back. It was more harkening back to what it was like with the 80s movies, and apparently this next one is being done by the original guys,
Yeah.
Shane Black and a few others from.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah,
First
Shane Black's
one.
back on board. Yeah,
Okay.
he was in the original Predator.
Yes, he
You know,
was. Yeah.
Throughout all this Alien Covenant thing, I was watching it, I couldn't get through it. I actually had to stop it, and I was just like, I just lost interest. But I'm thinking we could have had a Neil Blomkamp Aliens movie.
Oh,
Yes, I know. I remember
seriously.
reading about that.
Yeah.
That was the
Yes,
worst. Yeah, it was just like that's just rubbing salt into the wound. Just like, wait, we could have had a Neil Blomkamp Aliens, and we got this.
That's
Yeah.
kind of like saying we brought Jack Kirby back from the dead, and then we decided, we're going to let Rob Liefeld draw it. It's like, oh, fuck me.
Yeah, I mean,
But what's
well, the
even
worst thing-
worse with this whole deal is that Neil Blomkamp's got this thing going currently called Oats Studio.
Oh yeah,
Look
that's
it up
great.
on
Yeah,
YouTube.
I
if
love
you
it.
Oh, he's
haven't
doing great
seen it.
stuff. Yeah, he's doing
Yeah.
great
Yeah,
stuff.
he's basically proving his point over and over again on what you can do on a tiny budget and how you can make something out of pretty much nothing.
Yeah,
Because that's what he was going to do with the Alien movies. Case of, you don't have to give me a big budget because I don't need it. I'm going to
Yeah.
do this in a way that it's more like the reminiscent of the original Alien, which is a case of you're in such a confined, tight space with so little going on that I don't really need a big budget. I can do this on pretty much piss all, and
Yeah.
I can give you an atmospheric, deep movie. But no.
But one of the worst things about it for me, watching this, and EJ, I'll see if you agree with me on this one, was the CGI in this film. It was so fucking bad. I mean, especially the bit where the alien kills the dude in the shower. When you see the water running off its head, you think,
Right.
we've got to a point now where the guy in the suit looks more convincing than the CGI.
That's because,
Absolutely.
again, they're defaulting back to the whole problem in the early 2000s, late 90s, where they basically, CG is such an awesome thing, we'll use that over and over and over again, even though
Yeah.
even today, it's actually much cheaper to get a guy in a suit and do 3D printing to make said suit and whatnot than it is to do,
Yeah.
like, say, 5 minutes of CG versus 5 minutes of a guy in a suit.
Yeah.
Guy in a suit costs about a tenth of what the CG would cost.
So on to the next one now. This one I'll just put in purely for a laugh. And this was the Baywatch movie. The reason I haven't seen it either. But the main reason I put this in here is particularly because of Dwayne Johnson, the fact that he was on Twitter laughing at the bad reviews of the film.
You can't hate on the Baywatch movie because it did exactly what was advertised on the box.
Yeah,
So the
it's
fact
a
that
mi-
you had the reviewers just going, "Oh, this is bad," and him again, Dwayne Johnson. I'd like. He's always been down to earth, and he doesn't take himself too seriously. So
Well-
props to the guy.
My
Yeah.
understanding is that Baywatch kind of took a lesson from the 21 Jump Street remake,
Mhm.
right? In that it was parodying itself.
Right.
Which is all it could do. I mean,
Well, yeah,
you
well,
can't
that's-
make that serious. Yeah.
I mean, back in the day, do you remember when the Brady Bunch movie came out? It was the same thing.
yeah.
You know,
Seriously.
ooh, great. You know?
And people loved it too. That was the thing, and people loved it because they did it right. They were paying an homage, but they realized what they were doing. They squarely had their tongue in their cheek the entire time.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
of course, the movie was a minor financial success, and this was one of those movies where it showed a big divide between the critics and the fans. Because on Rotten Tomatoes, it's at 18% for critics rating, but fans it's at 56.
Yeah.
So I give them the props because obviously they knew what they were doing. But yeah, Dwayne Johnson's attitude to that thing, I had to praise him for. I thought, if you can't sit there and laugh at the reviews, go for it. You know.
yeah.
Right. So on to the next one, which I'm gonna. We'll see. was Wonder Woman. Now,
Ooh, I
this
like
was
I
a
like
big successful movie because DC movies have a tendency to be shit.
Yeah.
But
Wait, have a tendency. No, hold on. Let's clear. They're all shit. They have all
But
been
this
shit
one-
except for Wonder Woman. All of them
this
have been
one-
fucking terrible.
Yeah.
Let's not
And this
equivocate
one-
here. Let's not equivocate. Let's just go on.
because this one, it was a massive financial success. I think it was something like 800 million profit they made, and every reviewer that reviewed it was actually falling over themselves to tell how good it was. But the thing is, I made a choice not to see it because I don't do origin stories. I don't do prequel films or anything like that because to me, it's a foregone conclusion. You know that they're going to come out of it all right, and you know it's going to be no significant threat to the character.
But it's about the journey, Justin.
Exactly.
Yes,
It's
but the
about
thing is,
journey.
yeah, I know, but I can sit there thinking, you know, I know you're going to be all right in the end. So it was
you can't even get into the suspension of disbelief there, can you?
because it was
No,
like,
I can't.
well, this
Yeah.
makes point. And you guys go. It was like with the Wolverine origin movie. I knew what was going to happen to him. I knew he was going to come out missing his memory, but I knew he was going to come out alive. At least with the second movie, which James Mangold directed, there was some threat to the character because of him losing his healing ability. But with Wonder Woman, I thought I just can't watch this because there's nothing,
missing
there's
out,
no
man.
story for it.
You're missing out.
Yeah. Well,
was
maybe
I really
maybe
enjoyed
I
it.
will see it, but
You should. You definitely should. I
What?
think you should. Seriously.
I actually
I
watched
mean,
it. Like, this is another one I was watching on a 14-hour flight on the way over to LA. My biggest complaint as a history nerd is World War I Kaiserreich versus people on horses and bows and arrows. I'm sorry, but no. People on horses do not beat infantry with rifles and machine guns. It just doesn't happen. Completely unwatchable. Yeah, okay, history nerd over.
Well, in
Let's see
fairness,
suspension of disbelief. There you go.
in fairness, there's also not like giant Amazon women living on a island that's hidden.
Yeah,
Like,
good point.
so
Yeah. I mean,
It's
I'll
so-
give the props to the character. I mean, apparently Gal Gadot plays her really well, and in the Batman versus Superman shitfest that we had the other year, her entrance into the movie when she saved Superman was the standout moment for me.
Yeah.
But like I said, I just couldn't bring myself to watch this one because I said it's a foregone conclusion story.
If I can try to convince you just for a moment, let me try to convince you. Okay.
Okay.
I thought Gal Gadot was the worst fucking casting for this ever before the movie came out, before I saw it. I was like, holy shit, this is fucking terrible. This is just going to be another shitty fucking Superman versus Batman or fucking, Dark, whatever these other fucking piles of shit were. I was like, oh, here we go. And the fact that Gal Gadot is such a greenhorn as far as being an actress and being so new, it fucking worked so perfectly because it comes through in her performance because she is so, I don't want to say naive, but she's so kind of fresh-faced and when plays Diana and Wonder Woman and so on and so forth, it works, it clicks. It's like because it feels more genuine. And that was the thing I really took away from it. I was like, okay, this feels right. They got the tone right. The actress is, either by just sheer accident or the fact that she's being directed really, really well by Patty Jenkins it feels legit. It feels correct. And I thought the movie was great. I won't go and heap the praise on it that a lot of people have. I think the movie is really, really good, though. I think it's definitely worth a watch.
Yeah.
I don't think it's the greatest thing ever, but I think it's definitely worth a watch. Absolutely worth your time. For
I
sure.
would put it. I me personally, I would put it at about an 8 out of 10 in terms of like how like my top favorite movies. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But so it's something that I would definitely watch again in the future. But anything lesser than a 7, I will not watch again. Right. But the one thing that I really enjoyed about the movie is that like when you had her in Batman versus Superman, she was already like a fully formed character essentially.
Yeah,
Right?
which I did think was good.
Yeah, but with this one now, you got her like whatever it is, 100 years earlier, where she's very naive and she's very like she's coming out into the world and she seems to think that war is caused by this god, right? And if she defeats this god, then war will be over. And then when things come to pass, she's like, well, people are still mean to each other. I thought I solved this, and she says it's that kind of like awakening. Right, where she kind of realizes that, like, no, war is just endemic in human nature.
Yep.
One
Anyways.
of my biggest complaints was the fact that we're set with World War One, and kind of one of the things I'm reading. I'm a huge history buff. I'm sort of actually reading. There's a writer guy who survived World War One from beginning to end. Ernst Junger, and he wrote a book called Storm of Steel, and talking about what life was like in the frontline trenches, and the fact that they had her, being tackled by machine gun fire, and look, I'm frontline trenches, I can take on the Germans in the front line, on my own. I'm just like, I can't get past that because you'd be destroyed by artillery fire by now, and you would be in several different trees for what trees that were left. It just, the way they used the World War One setting just really kind of, again, but this is more my history nerd just screaming in the background.
Suspension of disbelief is
No,
calling.
I can't.
Wombat, are you there?
Not that. I can only suspend it so far, and if you're picking World War One, I'm like, if you want to have a story where she's looking at, how horrific war is, they push down World War One pretty bad. It's like, it's a few guys.
What to do with claws that comes out of his arms?
I don't know. I was able to.
But but here's the thing: if you'd had him in the World War One trenches with claws coming out of his arms, and okay, but he gets blown to bits, but he can just heal up again. That I can believe. But the fact
I love
like,
the hill that you want to die on with this. I just think it's funny, man.
Well, let's move on to this. Let's move on to the next.
Okay.
We'll move on to the next movie because this next one pissed me off on a very personal level, and that was Transformers: The Last Knight.
Oh God, you actually watched it?
I
watched it because Transformers was my childhood.
I attempted to watch it on the plane. I couldn't get past the intro with the little Mary Sue who takes on all the military robots. Yeah. I'm just like, nope, off. I just couldn't do it.
You know what?
Sorry, go on, EJ, before I rant on this.
Okay, so that's the movie that I have decided I'm never watching another Michael Bay film again.
It took that long. Wow,
it took that long.
Wow. And you made it.
I should. You know what? I should have learned my lessons after the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Now, I sat and watched it because Transformers was my childhood. The animated.
That's why I didn't watch it. Hey,
because I've also got two sons that wanted to see it as well, which was my excuse. And I avoided going to the cinema to see it because I had alarm bells ringing in my head about this. But I sat down and watched it. My wife was next to me. We had the two sons in front of us, and I can sum this movie up in 3 words. Those being "what the fuck." Because what they did to the mythology, to some of the characters, the god awful writing, especially when you've got a French hot rod, and apparently the planet Earth is now.
What the hell?
So hang on, they managed to make Hot Rod even more unlikable than he was in the '86 film.
Dude, whatever. Judd Nelson was awesome as Hot Rod. Shut your goddamn mouth.
And then, and then the fact that Earth is now Unicron.
What?
Actually, that's been a lore thing for quite a while.
No,
comics.
I still couldn't get it in my head. And then the bit where Mark Wahlberg pops a sword out of nowhere. Megatron's reimagining. I just sat there watching it, and my oldest son, he has Asperger's syndrome. One of the things he does when he watches the films, he's very, very focused on it. But even he kept looking around at me at certain points. And at one point, even my wife was sitting next to me.
Why?
Yeah. even my wife sat next to me, and at one point she went, "I'm disgusted by this film."
Wow.
Yeah, and I sat and watched. When the credits rolled afterwards, I thought, "You can't do this anymore." So I can't bring myself to watch any more Transformers movies. I should have stopped at 2 because that was a atrocious fucking film.
Yeah, it was.
They redeemed themselves a little bit.
Was horribly affected by the writers' strike.
Yeah,
and they weren't allowed to delay it until the writers' strike was over to fix everything. So yeah.
They redeemed themselves a little bit with 3 because they had Leonard Nimoy come in to do Sentinel Prime, which I thought was a nice little throwback. But
he actually
he was Galvatron.
He actually asked about doing a voice, and he's actually Michael Bay's uncle.
Yes, he's
he was in the animated film.
Yes, he was. He was Galvatron. Yeah.
You know what the biggest thing about this though is that Hasbro has full control over all this stuff, and they greenlit all those movies because they sell toys like fucking hotcakes.
Yeah. I mean, it's like I said, it's personal to me because I grew up with this stuff. I love these characters, and to see them changed the way they have been, it was just so fucking frustrating. But the worst part is,
disheartening as fuck.
yeah, even though Bay has said he's not doing another one.
Yeah, he said that 2 movies ago, though, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. But now there is apparently another one on the way.
Putting zeros on a paycheck.
Yeah.
Now there is apparently another one on the way. There's also allegedly a spin-off on the way.
Oh no, it's filmed already. Bumblebee.
Yeah, called Bumblebee the movie.
Yeah, it's not allegedly. It's done
Yeah.
filming. They finished principal.
Apparently starring John Cena.
So you're saying we can't see this film?
No, I can't wait to see the memes and gifs that come out about this. I really can't.
Jesus,
Yeah,
I won't.
But again, the worst thing is this movie, even though it was hammered in the reviews and quite rightly so, it was a humongous financial success. Apparently, I think it was something like 600 million profit purely on the name of it.
Probably most of that was overseas though, because they go crazy for the Transformers movies in China.
Yeah.
Holy shit, they go nuts for them, dude.
And the reviews on Rotten Tomatoes, 15% score from the critics, 45% from the audience. But it's just so fucking heartbreaking to see it go in this direction. And
You know what?
This has happened multiple times in the history of Transformers with various things completely screwing the pooch. It's kind of a thing.
Well, because the license has been handed around to so many different places, it's gotten pretty hard. I actually watched the animated movie yesterday again. I hadn't watched it in a while, and I was like, "Fuck, I gotta watch Transformers, dude!" And I fucking turned that on, and as great as it is, there are some of the most cringy fucking moments. They're not Michael Bay cringy, but there's fucking till all are one and fucking.
Yeah, but it was the 80s. You could get away with that.
That's an 80s cringe.
Yeah, no, but it actually, there's like, I want to do I actually want to take the movie and do like a fan cut of it, because I think if you cut out the fucking the wheelie stuff, if you cut out fucking me Grimlock is king and all that shit, you dare come out. You cut that out, and you cut out a couple other little things like fucking like, oh, I speak TV, when fucking Cup is doing that shit. If you cut out
that movie though, its beauty lie in its innocence, because you could get away with that in the 80s. And
fucking loved it.
It's always going to have a place in my heart because of it.
Again, my parents took me to see it when I was 7. And, I think we were all traumatized with as kids. It's like, oh, the whole cartoons, it's like, oh, they're just pew-pewing at each other. Within the first, 10 minutes, you see it starts with a genocide, and you see your favorite characters dying in the most Saving Private Ryan. Ratchet gets his chest blown out and he's spewing fire.
Ironhide, Prowl.
Oh, it was just like
Windcharger.
Ironhide got the base.
Of course, obviously, one thing with the 80s movie they could get away with, they had the first female robot. She's pink and she's called RC.
RC,
the name,
dude,
obviously.
The Transformers are awesome, dude. They were so good. Springer, RC, fucking Hot Rod.
But anyway,
all them.
We'll move on before I cry over this fucking film. Because next,
I'll say it right now, just stick to the IDW comics, like the good ones, and the animated, Transformers Animated, Transformers Prime, and the current 2 that are going are apparently very good.
Transformers Prime animated series was actually really fucking good. I was so surprised, but it's actually really fucking good.
We'll move on now anyway, because I'm going to cry.
They aim for the middle ground of teenagers, like teenagers to young adults, and that's why it clicked so well. And even though they kind of had a bit of the cliche-ish bit with the kid characters evolved and stopped being and never sort of got to be as annoying little tropes.
They weren't terrible.
All right, so the next one was Spider-Man: Homecoming. Obviously, a triumphant one for Marvel, because they got it back from Sony.
Well, no, they didn't get it back from Sony. They did a deal with Sony. Sony saying was basically going, how do we not be shit at this? And Marvel's like, okay, we will help the special kids, and it's proven that the issues with the previous Spider-Man movies are not the character. It's Sony's fault, because as soon as Marvel got involved, they got good.
Yeah. Obviously, again, massive financial success. And of course, Spider-Man is going to appear in the
Infinity War.
Gauntlet. Yeah, that's it. He's going to appear in that, as the trailers have shown. So there was that. And then, of course, we'll go on to one which I've already been mentioned. Of course, that's the Emoji Movie. I can't actually believe this got made.
Patrick Stewart got paid a lot of money to be a piece of shit. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, the thing is, I was reading at some point that Sony was essentially betting the farm on that movie. I'm like, oh dear God, you know that there's like an executive at Sony who's just looking at a revolver on their desk, just going, maybe today.
Sadly,
Yeah,
it
that
wasn't
scene
Amy Pascal because she had already been
Yeah.
fired.
Yeah.
I just wanted to be a fly on the wall of the meeting for whoever the fuck it was that pitched this thing and pitched it in a way that they actually thought it was actually going to be good.
Well, you know what probably happened? They're like, well, you know, this other studio is making this Sausage Party movie, so this is going to be a huge hit.
The funny thing about it is, Patrick Stewart, he appeared on that Have I Got News For You that I mentioned earlier. And someone asked him, why did you play the poop emoji? And he replied, and I'm not joking, I wanted to play a character full of substance and fiber. So he obviously knew what he was doing, and he just didn't give a shit.
Yeah, he was getting paid is what he was doing. He's like, I'm going to make a boatload of money off of this dumbass thing.
All right, we'll move off of that one, unless anyone else has got any witty comments to add to it. To The Dark Tower. Now, this one was not very well received, because it's strangely short runtime of only 90 minutes. A minor financial success, but apparently was very unfaithful to the source material. EJ, as I've heard you react, you can go first if you want.
All right, so this is what I got to say about that. You guys ever seen The Never Ending Story 2?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah, that was pretty much that.
Was that bad, really?
Yeah, it was like a 90s, it was like one of those generic 90s, oh, kid goes into an alternate universe where he's the chosen one kind of story. And I'm like, no.
Was it Bookmaster? Is that do you remember
like the Page Master, like that kind of thing?
Master. Yeah, that's the one.
Also, you might be thinking of Never Ending Story.
What's that?
Also, you might be thinking of Never Ending Story.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, the Page Master was a ripoff of Never Ending Story, though. It was like a budget version, like an even more budget version of the Never Ending Story. Because let's be real, the Never Ending Story production value is pretty bad. I mean,
well, the first one was great.
It was good for it. Yeah, the first one at the time was not bad, but yeah, it was kind of it. There was also the controversy over the fact that they swapped it. They've completely gutted. Like basically, I think they basically told the beginning and the end of the story and completely gutted. Like the Dark Tower series, there's multiple books, and they've more or less completely gutted it. There was the controversy over the changing of the main character from being white to black, and removing a character from there who was schizophrenic, who one of her personalities was horribly racist, blah 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 blah, because she was a black woman and she was calling him a cracker the whole time, and so yeah, there was all this stuff, and it just as soon as they announced it, I'm like, this is going to be a shit show, and it more or less confirmed, complete shit show with a clown show on the side. So yeah, just completely avoided it.
Well, obviously, because you've mentioned clown show, we've got to talk about the remake of It.
It's so good.
Well, here's the thing with It, and if you heard the last stream where we talked about this, I predicted this film would fail.
Really?
I'm happy. Yeah, I did. I said at the end, I predict it will fail. And I'm happy to hold my hands and say I was completely wrong about this.
And to be honest, like at the time, the idea seemed laughable at best.
Yeah. But
so, I mean, I was right there with you on it. So,
yeah, I give props to them. Apparently, they've made a brilliant film. But it had its budget of only 35 million, which is one of the lowest I've known. And it took almost 700 million in returns. And apparently, some have even said it's one of the best adaptations of Stephen King's work.
Yeah, because that was the thing. They went back. They didn't do a shot-for-shot remake of the old film. What they did is they went back to the book. And this is the thing. If you're going to make remakes, go back to the source material and work from that. Don't just make a shot-for-shot remake of the older film. Because people just want to, we're just going to watch the older film. So that's why it worked, is they went back and we went back and they actually really faithfully, for the most part, adapted the book. So, yeah, look, that's why it worked.
Yeah.
So
yeah, props to them for doing a good job. I don't usually praise remakes very often, but with this one, it looks like they did it. So I'm actually going to make a point to see this.
Oh yeah,
because of how well it was done. So yeah, I was happy to be proven wrong on this one.
Well,
So-
my girlfriend
Go
and I saw it in the theater,
Mhm.
and I was going in because like we'd already heard some of the reviews saying it was really good, so it kind of got my hopes up because I loved the miniseries, and then I read the book when I don't know, it was like in my 20s sometime, right? And I loved it, right?
Yeah.
And so when I'm watching it, and I'm like, I did notice a few differences here and there, but the way they executed it was like, mwah.
Yeah.
Mwah. I loved it. Yeah.
Now, moving on to the next one, Blade Runner 2049.
I have not seen it.
Apparently it was a very flat. It got a very flat reception. Minor
Yeah, I
financial
think
success.
the
Good
critics-
reviews and all that.
The critics basically hated it because and this is I think this is an ongoing sign of the disconnection between critics and audiences.
Yeah.
In that everyone I've seen it who was fans of the original Blade Runner loved it. It was faithful to the universe, and it was basically a continuation of the original Blade Runner. It had the depth. I when I saw this remake and all the promos I saw for it, I was just kind of horrible remake. But apparently the problem has been that the marketing for it and the trailers for it were completely shit. It was one of those ones that was marketed really badly, and the critics got a bee in their bonnet, and it became trendy to hate on it.
Yeah.
So I think that's what discouraged audiences. But yeah, it's on my list of ones to see, because apparently, again, we actually went and saw the original Blade Runner. We were showing on the big screens here again, and we went and saw that, and it just kind of picked up all these nuances, and we loved it. So when I'm actually going to make the effort to see this one when I can.
Okay. All right. So the next one to talk about was, of course, Justice League. Apparently, very mixed reviews. Made just under twice its budget back, but apparently it continues the trend of DC films being shit. Despite what they managed to
It
pull
was
off with
kind
Wonder
of. This was for this case. It was kind of doomed from the start, considering how
Yeah.
many times they've rewritten things, how many times they've reshot things. It kind of didn't really have a chance once the reshoots and rewrites started.
Yeah, which is a
I'm
shame.
seeing it tonight.
Okay, good luck. Let me
Yeah.
know how it goes.
I'll make sure to bring the Tylenol.
Okay then.
General consensus I've got from people who've seen it is that the characters are all good and fine, like the heroes. It's just everything else is just a hodgepodge mess. The villain's
Yeah.
not got any weight to him. There's no real fear factor for anyone. It's a case of if the characters weren't as good as they are, like the heroes, it would have been a complete flop.
Hmm. Oh,
Well, complete flop. Here's the problem. And I think if we look at the numbers, like the first week, second week, and third week numbers, like there is a very steep decline in tickets sold. And the problem is I think it's becoming very obvious to DC fans that they bought into the Batman, the Superman, and the Suicide Squad. They're like, all right, we got to support the DC movies. We got to get out there and da-da-da-da-da. And I think they had a realization. They're like, holy shit, this is terrible. And I think we're seeing the effect of that now with Justice League when you look at the ticket sales, because there is such a steep decline in their ticket sales over the first 3 weeks. I think folks are finally getting sick of it, honestly. And the word is getting out where like the fanboys aren't being like, oh no, it's great, you got to support it regardless, because we love DC, we want to see something good come out. Because they finally realized that something good isn't going to come out. Wonder Woman was a fluke. It was a happy accident. But this man, come on, DC, like they really sincerely, like I've joked about this for fucking years now, that they need to stop and start over. But they sincerely, legitimately, they absolutely need to stop and start over. Because just like with fucking Ghost in the Shell and Rupert Sanders and that production company, the people at DC, with Zack Snyder, who's obviously not there anymore, and everybody else involved, Damon Lindelof, oh, Jesus fucking Christ. Yeah. They don't understand these characters. They don't understand the universe that those characters live in, and they don't understand how to put them on film. They put the Flash in a fucking Power Ranger suit. What the fuck is he wearing? I mean, come the fuck on, man. Get out of here. Superman is this grumpy fucking baby ass man, fucking, boo, I bemoan my fucking legacy. I'm so fucking sad. Boo, fucking, man, get the fuck out of here. This is not Superman is a fucking inspirational character. He is supposed to uplift people, give them hope. And where the fuck is that? Nowhere to be goddamn found in these films.
So we could just replace that entire rant with the filthy Frank meme. It's time to stop, okay?
Stop.
Yeah.
Stop. Just stop. Where are your parents?
See,
Oh,
I
seriously.
find that the big difference between DC and Marvel is the people that are working on the Marvel movies generally want to make a good movie and want to make do these characters and this story justice, versus the DC stuff is like, oh, we're going to catch up with Marvel. We're just going to chuck this shit out there and have pretty much not even an ounce of the passion or the actual drive to make it good in there.
You know what? I shared a link with Justin the other day, or I showed him a screenshot of it. There was a thing on oh fuck, I can't remember the site now, but they were talking about Shazam, and they're like, yeah, Shazam is gonna be DC's Guardians of the Galaxy. And I was like, bam, there it is. Yeah. They are chasing that fucking lightning that Marvel has, and they can't have it because they see dollar signs, and they're like, oh shit, we want to be like Marvel. We want to make all this money. We've got characters. People love DC characters. Let's make movies. But like you said, Peta, the people at Marvel give a shit. They care about these characters, and they know who these characters are, and therefore they can make these films that are great because there's heart there, there's soul there. And the DC stuff just feels so fucking soulless and so empty. And it's so obvious that they're just like, oh, me too. I want that Marvel money. It's like, get the fuck out of here. Start over. Get somebody in there that actually gives a fuck about that stuff. Because the people like Zack Snyder don't give a fuck about Superman or Batman or the Justice League. Get the fuck out of here. Ugh.
So that too, as well as the actors, generally speaking, the actors that are involved in the Marvel stuff, they themselves are also invested in the characters. They've actually made the effort to go out, get the comics, read up on, research everything they can on them to do the characters justice, because Chris Evans himself was terrified of doing Captain America because he confided in Robert Downey Jr. He's just like, I want to do this good. I want to do this character justice. I'm shitting the bed that I'm going to fuck this up and everyone's going to hate me for it. And Robert Downey Jr. said, look, just do your research, understand the character, and then just portray it, like show them how you best interpret everything. It's like just aim to make the character good, make them appear right. It's like, don't stress on it, just let it happen. And we've got Captain America.
Fuck yeah. Some of the best movies ever. Fucking Captain America, the First Avenger. One of my favorite movies ever. Joe Johnston did an amazing job with that film. Fuck, I love those movies. Fuck, they're so good. Sorry. I get so excited. I fucking love Cap.
All right, so to finish off with the top for the last one, we want to talk about some of the Netflix releases, because obviously they seem to be leading the way with a lot of these things. And the first one to mention is, of course, the Iron Fist series.
I still haven't seen it yet. I can't bring myself to watch it.
I'll keep it a brief one for this then, because to save yourself here. But apparently the character himself, he's a massive fucking whingy bastard. And a man-child, I suppose you'd call him. But what made this series more famous was the row that Finn Jones got into on Twitter over the whole diversity thing.
Oh, yeah.
Because he got into it with a blogger who's based in Australia, I believe, where she was saying that an Asian Asian Iron Fist, sorry,
how could Iron Fist be American or a white man?
would have been much better than a white guy. And obviously, even though Iron Fist was a white dude to begin with, she still wouldn't have it. And
because she doesn't know anything about it, but she still wants to have an opinion. Fucking Christ.
In the end, Jones left Twitter for a while to get the filming out of the way because he didn't want to get caught up in the rows, and fair play to him for doing so. But yeah, I'll leave that one there because I don't want to spoil that for you. But one of the Netflix shows that got a lot of feedback, shall we say, was the Amy Schumer special. Has anyone seen this?
Nope. I've seen bits of it.
I don't hate myself enough to watch it, and I just love the feedback. It's everyone. She's going, "Oh, you hate my special because you're sexist." Like, no, because you're just not funny. Because that was about the same time everyone was calling her out for her joke theft.
Yeah,
and there was YouTube clips coming up.
Quietly went away, didn't it?
Oh, that got quietly swept under the rug. But everyone just pulling up all these YouTube clips of just her doing the exact same word-for-word joke and going, oh, look,
Yeah.
here's the original joke done in a comedy club a couple of years beforehand. And here's Amy Schumer doing the same joke exactly word for word, and your delivery sucks. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was just...
Yeah, because
Yeah,
it did quietly disappear, which I didn't notice.
So there's
Um,
these. Sorry.
But yeah, I've seen bits of this because I can't bring myself to watch it either. But the
Well,
funniest
there's-
bit, which I'm aware of, was the bit that was unintentionally funny on her part. Was when she talked about where she tweeted out a photo where she's sitting there in just her underwear, and it's just the women that cheer. And she notices it. She goes, "Just the women? What the fuck?" And I thought, "You really surprised?"
yeah, because the
Yeah.
men are all quietly sitting in there just...
No. But yeah, she did try to claim it was "quote unquote" alt-right trolls who seem to be
So
the
there's-
big boys these days, who review bombed it. I'd love to see, her proof of that. But EJ, you were saying?
Yeah, there's these two guys, and they're sitting around eating Amy Schumer, and one of them says, "Does this taste funny to you?" And the other says,
Yeah, the other one
Yeah.
goes, no, not
It
even
was
remotely.
even more funny when
Bit fatty though.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh shit, Peter! Fucking hell.
Go girl.
Oh dear. But it was even
Oh, people
more
like
funny
her,
when
I'm not about to hold back.
Yeah. But it was also made known that apparently after she found out people like Dave Chappelle had been paid more for their specials than what she had, she demanded a bigger pay increase. I'd love to know how that conversation
Ernie,
went.
Dave
earn
Chappelle's
the fucking
been on
pay
the scene for
increase.
20 fucking years. I'm sorry, but no.
Yeah, and Dave Chappelle puts fucking asses in seats because he's consistently
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah.
Fucking Amy Schumer she's a fucking hack, dude.
Mm.
Look,
pay
you get that pay
increase.
increase when you fucking earn it. How about that? Fucking earn it, and then they'll give you the fucking money.
Yeah.
I'm betting she's more or less thinking, I need a pay increase so I can get more cake.
Oh god.
Because
you know what the problem
is,
not
though,
going to
too?
use it for anything else.
Yeah, you know what the problem is though, seriously, when you look at this though, the media turned Amy Schumer into the girl of the moment. She got a TV show, she got put on the rounds in the fucking, the morning shows and all the fucking all the other shows like on TV where they had the celebs going there. She became the it girl. She was the hot new comedy property. She had the fucking show on Comedy Central or wherever the fuck it was. And they were pushing that. So, like, if you were paying attention, you could see they were pushing her so fucking hard as the next big thing. And they invested into her, and they, and so it went to her fucking head. She started believing the hype. She's like, oh my God. Excuse me for the hiccup. She's like, oh my God, I'm the fucking greatest. I need more money because I'm so good. And you don't, because you haven't earned it. You're not funny, and people see right through your fucking facade. They see you're just a manufactured, you're a boy band, essentially. You're a fucking manufactured fucking property put out there to make people feel good about it. It's like, oh, look, here's a funny woman. See, women can be funny too. And then they start, then they start into that whole thing that women can't be funny. And oh God, Jesus Christ, fucking kill me.
All right. Leave that one there then. The next one to talk about, which was sadly a short run, but hopefully it's coming back, was the Castlevania animated series.
Too short.
Yeah, too short.
Yeah, but I think that was a test. That was basically a proof of concept. And they thought, oh, we'll put this up the flagpole and see who salutes. And pretty much everyone saluted. So I think that we're going to see that.
Yeah.
We're going to see that new series come in next year.
It was a wonderful short series, but it was great to watch, and I hope more comes back of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is going ahead with more because the guy who basically animated the intro for it has been posting his sketches and his plans and everything for the intro and some of the animation he did in the actual show, and basically saying, yeah, we're going ahead with more.
Yeah. Nice. Okay. Now, obviously, as Scott hasn't seen Iron Fist, just debating whether I should talk about the Defenders or not.
Oh, I still haven't seen that either, dude. I still haven't watched fucking
all right, well,
go.
I will say that I enjoyed it.
Oh, you can spoil anything. Talk about
it. I don't want to spoil it for you, but I will say that I enjoyed this miniseries because, and I could tell that I enjoyed it because Jessica Jones in this was actually likable.
No, I don't believe that for a fucking second.
No, seriously, because I hated the series of Jessica Jones.
Oh, it's terrible.
Yeah, even my wife, who I watched it with, was sitting there with me, going, "Why are we still watching this?"
I love your wife.
Yeah, she doesn't hold back on stuff like that. But with the Defenders, I actually quite like Jessica Jones in this. She was wonderfully sarcastic, just to just the right level. but it was Iron Fist that was the weak link. But we'll leave that
Okay.
there.
Okay.
Yeah, just something that floated across my Twitter feed while you were talking. The fact that the showrunner behind the Defenders is going to be the one making the Witcher Netflix TV series. So I'm kind of, I hope this is going to be good, but
Well,
not sure.
No, again, with the Defenders, I thought it was a pretty good series. I mean, me and my wife, we binged it in a day, which we don't usually do with any series. And I'll tell you what, it was great. Props to them for that.
I gotta check it out. Man.
Yeah. Now, this next one I'm going to love hearing people talk about, and that was, of course, Star Trek Discovery.
I haven't watched it.
Okay, I'll give you.
STD, what an appropriate name.
Yeah, I'll give you a hint, EJ. Don't. I watched the first episode. I watched the first episode.
Justin, that hadn't watched it.
Oh shit! I'm sorry, DJ. Scott, don't watch it. I have watched the first episode, and I'll tell you what, I hated it. I absolutely hated it because the writing is so atrociously bad, and the character that Sonequa Green plays is the most mouthiest, rude, disobedient person that I don't believe would ever have made it in the Star Trek. I really don't.
Do you know what she is?
She's a Vulcan.
She's a Marvel diversity character because that's exactly what they like.
Yeah. And
yeah, it's people were making the jokes. It's like, oh look, let's watch Starfleet commit war crimes.
Yeah,
it's pretty much what it came down to. It was ridiculously bad.
Yeah.
Apparently, people have been saying that the Orville is a better Star Trek than Star
Trek.
Oh yeah.
Yep. That's what everyone's saying. The Orville, and again, you're seeing this disconnect between critics and audiences.
Yep.
Where again, if you're looking the Rotten Tomato stuff, Orville's getting absolutely gangbuster ratings from the fans on Rotten Tomatoes, and getting absolutely binned by the critics because they just don't like Seth MacFarlane, and it's now trendy to hate on it.
Yeah.
Well, after A Million Ways to Die in the West, I could see why people would hate on MacFarlane because that was the worst fucking movie ever made. Holy fuck, that movie was terrible. Oh,
so,
but the Orville, I actually watched the latest episode just last night, man. Like I swear by it now. That's the new Star Trek for me.
Somebody said if you liked Galaxy Quest, then you like the Orville, and I was like, whoa, friend, you watch it. That's hollow ground you're walking on right there.
I love Galaxy Quest.
Not wrong.
Galaxy Quest is its fucking own wonderful, amazing thing, and you don't ever compare it to anything because you can't, because it's fucking amazing and it's wonderful.
You shouldn't compare it to Galaxy Quest, but I will say that like enjoyed Galaxy Quest, you'll probably enjoy the Orville.
Right on. I have a special place in my heart about Galaxy Quest. I'm kind of a fanboy.
Me too. I hear you.
We'll finish this on a series which me and Scott talked about a while back, actually, when it was announced, and that's of course The Punisher.
Yeah.
Me and my wife, again, we binged watched multiple episodes of this because it was that kind of a series. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant, and I got to praise Bernthal for the work he did on The Punisher because he nailed it for me. And when he finally,
that one too, man.
Well, okay, I'll keep it limited here.
Oh no, don't worry about spoilers. Just say whatever, dude. I'm good.
Right.
I'm good.
Well, when he starts killing people, especially when he puts on the white mask suit again. Oh, it's wonderful to watch because he's so lethal and brutal.
Yeah.
But the story itself behind it, because obviously Michael Chip's in there for those who knew him from the very original series. Fantastic. And I literally cannot wait for series 2 because it also serves as an origin story for what I think will be his main villain. And that's of course, Jigsaw.
Jigsaw, yeah.
But it's a great series, especially when he starts going again, because the story revolves around him sort of going calm for a while. When he starts hurting people again, which is at the end of episode 1, it's not for the squeamish, especially when he uses the sledgehammer. Yeah, got to watch it.
On a scale of John Travolta Punisher to Punisher Warzone, where would you rate this?
Oh, that's not fair.
It's its own thing. No.
It's
okay. Well, that's what I was
It is its own thing because the thing is, with those two movies, and EJ, maybe you can agree with me on this, they were a bit. They held back on the violence a bit.
Yeah, they were.
What? Warzone?
Yeah, they were.
Warzone, Warzone was great. What are you talking about? It was violent as fuck.
Yeah, but
it's the PG-13 problem again.
Yeah, but the thing is with the violence,
Warzone was R.
Yeah,
Okay.
the thing with Warzone, I had a job buying it at times because the bit where we stabbed him in the neck with the broken glass, you can blatantly tell it's CGI.
Okay.
Now,
Well,
at
there
the end
was
of the
there was
first
some.
episode, the end of the first episode of the series, spoilers here, he goes after a couple of guys with a sledgehammer.
Uh-huh.
And when he whacks one across the face with it, I literally sat and went, "Oh!" because it literally it got that kind of reaction because I looked
Right.
and thought, okay, that's bones, jaw bones, teeth gone.
Oh damn! No, like
They
remember
sold it
Warzone
well.
when he punched the dude's head? He cracked his head. I fucking love that. That was so good.
But
I love Warzone. I thought it was so good.
yeah, with the Punisher series, they sold it better than the movie. So I'd advise anyone to watch it because
Yeah.
it's great. It really
Yeah,
I
I
got it
think
bookmarked. I just got to
it
watch
goes-
it yet.
Yeah, it goes way beyond all the Punisher movies that I've seen, including the Dolph Lundgren one.
Oh
Uh,
god, that was such a piece of shit. Jeez, so bad.
I'm actually going to
man.
be a bit unpopular here and say I like that one the best of the three movies.
All I remember
Really,
about
you
that
liked
movie-
it better than Warzone?
Yeah, I did.
Oh my gosh, you're a terrible
all I
person.
Yeah, I actually liked. I gotta say, I did like the way they did Punisher. In the Travolta Punisher one was good. I liked it. But the Punisher, not because the Travolta was in it, because Travolta's Travolta, but they did Punisher in that quite well. It's just, yeah, they did kind of hold back a bit.
all I remember about
Now,
You
now
just
that,
sound gutted.
now that Scott hates me,
Yeah.
wow.
we'll finish this topic. Sorry,
All right.
stream with the same topic we did last time, and obviously for Wombat and Scott, it's going to be a bit of a repetition here. But we did talk about the anti-GG folk that were outed as very thing they claim to be fighting against. To
Well, in
catch up on it,
fairness, some of them.
sorry.
In fairness, some of them have.
Okay.
Yes.
To catch up on a couple that we talked about, Devin Ferrasi described. He was still very much with Draft House, even though he claimed he was gone.
Yeah.
And he was basically doing copywriting work. Now, Tim League stuck up for Ferrasi to try and sort of justify his position there, but it didn't go down well. The company's director of international programming, Todd Brown, resigned in response to his apparent return. And even the lady who accused him to begin with tweeted her bemusement about it. And the pressure to prove too much from Ferrasi had to go. Then there was, of course, Matt Hickey having a fourth rape charge added to his list and was also fined just over $330,000 for the fake porn scam. Currently still in prison at the time of recording this.
Yeah.
And of course, the other ones that were outed this year. First of all, there was Glenn Fishman, if I'm saying his name right. I don't care, to be honest with you. A man who had once said Gigi was an abusive hate movement was called out by a couple of young women after he went at length in emails, pointing out he was in a polyamorous relationship with his wife. Yeah. He later defended the emails, claiming it was in part to put them at ease. But for those who've seen the emails,
That's not. Yeah. Put something at ease.
yeah, to read the emails, it just doesn't fit. It just doesn't belong in there. And I read those emails and thought, I know what you're doing. That was that one. Feel free to pop in at any moment with comments, guys, because obviously it's a bit.
Well, it's the stuff in the emails was the kind of thing that, like a beta male totally sits back and thinks, like. But so he's like maybe just one little step above that, and that he actually said it, But it was ill advised. But
Yep.
you
And next there was Juan M. Thompson, who labelled Gigi as online misogyny. Later arrested by the FBI for harassment, cyber stalking, and making death threats against his ex-girlfriend. Apparently, he emailed naked photos and threatened to reveal them publicly, according to ABC News. Nice guy.
Yeah.
Next, there was this was the funny one. Was Jamie Kilstein, host of Citizen Radio, co-host, I beg your pardon, after claiming Gigi was all about sexism and not ethics. He was forced to resign from his job after multiple allegations of sexual misconduct against him by numerous women. His ex-wife and the co-host of the show wrote a lengthy post on Facebook in which she said how upset she was about it. Kilstein was asked to host publicly post about what he had done. He refused. And later, while he was leaving the show, he also refused. Apparently, he went through therapy and later deleted his Twitter account for a while. But to be fair to him, he did appear on the Joe Rogan podcast and talked about it from his side of the story. And it did sound a little bit like he'd been stitched up.
Yeah. I agree.
Basically, silly banter that had been blown out of proportion. And I will be fair to him for that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's one of the times I'll be fair to these guys. And then there was
I've already gone on my rant last week about that. So
I know. Yeah. For anyone that wants to know the feelings of Scott and Wombat in particular, who again can chip in whenever they want, listen to last week's stream because they did go on a bit of a tangent.
Oh yeah, a little bit.
Yeah,
a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. And then there was the former NeoGAF moderator, Christopher John Goldberg, who was one of the ones who accused Gamergate of sexism and racism. Later arrested for possession of child porn.
Imagine that.
NeoGAF was
individual.
Yeah, NeoGAF was very quick to point it out that he had not been a mod for the better part of a decade, and that his real name had not been on file before shutting down the thread.
Yeah, of course. They fucking love the dude when he's fucking railing against the thing they hate, but then one of them gets found out to be the fucking thing that they said they weren't. And they fucking we don't like that dude. No, he hasn't been around here for a while. Oh no.
Yeah. Now the post writer Tyler Mulker, who pop up later, left out that he had been aware of his real name and had even donated $1,000 to a GoFundMe Goldberg had run. And then we had a smaller one, which was the Wings Over Scotland blogger Stuart Campbell, who once called GG the lowest of the low. He was later arrested for harassing a woman who lived in South London for a 2-year period. Later released on bail, with the investigation apparently still ongoing. And this one now is a dishonourable mention. That's, of course, the Phil Robinson of Polygon, called out for alleged sexual harassment against another game journalist, and he lost his job over it. But again, to be fair to him, this didn't come across as that. This was a badly attempted chat up, if anything, and he was chased out of his job as a result.
Yeah, that was another one of those times where the allegation was enough to do anything. I don't know about if it has any legitimacy, but this was a very, very clearly a case of just the allegation of the court of public opinion thing. There, so.
Yeah, I'm willing to side on the whole. He may have tried to flirt or something subtle, but they've taken that something little jokey, subtle thing, and as they do, turned it into, he creepy, evil stalker guy, get him the fuck out or I'm going to scream. Right. So he basically got chased out.
Yep. Absolutely. It's exactly what we were talking about when we opened the stream.
Yep.
Right? This is the same topic, right? So it's just coming from a less publicized area, I guess is the best way, but when I see these things, this is like you have to take every single one with a grain of salt and weigh them on their things. Now, a lot of these cases that you brought up were cut and dry. These guys have already been through the court system. They're already being charged. The police have fucking investigated. Yeah. So then, yes, absolutely, 100%. And the same thing with anything that happens from the Me Too stuff in Hollywood. If the police make charges, I'm going to be like, okay, yeah, he did it.
Yep.
Right. But when we get into this whole, and especially if you look at the people who are being accused and what kind of people they surround themselves with.
Yeah.
Right. It's not surprising when they increased the definition of what sexual assault meant in Sweden. All of a sudden, the crime rate went fucking sky high.
Yeah.
Because they changed the definition.
Are these things connected? I wonder.
Yeah, and it's so it's just, I don't know. So I want to give the devil his due. I may not like these guys for what they have to say, but I don't think they deserve to be, losing their careers and stuff over this sort of thing.
Yeah.
Unless, a very valuable lesson comes out of it, if you catch my drift. You know what I mean? Jamie Kilstein from because I listened to that Joe Rogan podcast. And I found myself on the one hand being like, well, yeah, you're a douchebag, but on the other, you didn't really deserve to have that happen to you, though.
Yeah.
And
of course, the next one was Josh fucking Whedon. After comparing GG to the KKK.
Yeah.
He was outed by his ex-wife as being a serial cheat during their marriage, whilst hiding behind feminism. Whedon responded
Yeah.
saying he would not be commenting on it out of concern for his children and ex-wife. Yeah,
Dude, he
Um,
used his kids as a shield.
Yeah,
What a fucking
sure.
piece of shit.
yeah.
What a
And
piece
soon
of
after,
shit.
and soon afterwards, the website Whedon-esque, which was dedicated to his work, shut down. Now, the owner claimed she had been toying with shutting down the website for around 15 years, but you have to question the timing, don't you? Yeah.
Well, I know through some of the people I know that work in the film industry, I heard rumors that Joss Whedon was banging Scarlett Johansson years ago, back during the first Avengers movie.
Really?
And yeah, I heard those rumors
How-
way back then.
What? I could fuck Scarlett Johansson then. Oh my god. Oh my god, I'm a fucking Adonis compared to goddamn Whedon.
Married.
Holy shit, yeah, to Ryan Reynolds.
And that I think they divorced like a year or two before that, didn't they? Anyway,
I
it
don't
doesn't-
know.
that doesn't
Yeah,
really
but
matter.
at this point, would you really want Joss Whedon's sloppy seconds?
Or Sean Penn's for that matter. I'd be more worried about that. Ugh.
Yeah, so I once again, they're rumors, right? So you got to
Right.
take with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
But that is what I heard, and and so when the news came out, it didn't really shock me all that much. I was like, yeah. Okay, that kind of goes with what I've learned. So,
You know what? I felt that way about the whole Spacey thing because I remember back in the day talking to friends of mine. I was like, dude, there is something fucking wrong about this guy. I was like, I get a sociopath vibe off of this dude. And I know it's real popular to say, well, I never liked Kevin Spacey, but I always thought he's a good actor, but I always got a fucking sociopath off of vibe.
I always
came out, I was like, yeah, okay, I believe that.
With Joss Whedon, though, it's like Elijah Dushku, the way she used to speak about her relationship with him back doing Buffy and Dollhouse and that, you look back on it now and she's pretty much saying, like, oh yeah, we were screwing.
yeah.
I didn't even know about that. Wow.
Next one was Harry Knowles of Ain't It Cool News and also Daft Alamo, who also employed Ferrasi. A known critic of Gigi, he was outed by a lady who attended an event with him back in early 2000, in which he groped her a couple of times, and then later giggled. Yeah, the big fat guy with the glasses.
Yeah, the guy who looks like he has to pay for sex because he probably does.
Now, he would later giggled about it when confronted. Another was Andy Signor, the creator of Honest Trailers.
Screen Junkies.
Yeah, that's it. He took a dig at Gigi during the Wreck-It Ralph trailer.
Yep.
Later accused of sexual harassment by a woman and was fired from the Screen Junkies shortly afterward. Apparently, he's been quiet on Twitter ever since.
With that case, I'm willing to believe her because she's been to HR to make the complaint. She's filed complaints. She's also filed complaints with the police, and she can produce the paperwork. And last I heard, she's going ahead with pursuing him through the police because she's basically contacted HR over a period of months, going, okay, like especially when she got fired, she basically, okay, well, are you doing anything about him? And kept going, oh yes, we're looking into it. We're looking into it. We're looking into it. So especially after getting fired and getting the runaround as much, she's basically gone, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to 100. It's like, if you're not going to do this internally, I'm going to the cops. And she's now actively pursuing charges against him.
Well, you know what? That's what she should have done in the first place. That's the thing that I find so detestable about all these situations is that, or so worrying is that these people are committing crimes. Okay. I mean, and when somebody commits a crime, you talk to the police. You don't go to Twitter. You don't go to fucking Facebook and make a post about it. You contact the fucking police.
Yes, that's right.
Well, in her case, she didn't go Twitter or anything like that. She just went to their complaints department at HR, and they told her, "Oh, we'll get him sorted."
Well, I mean,
and she was also of the whole, "Oh, he's quite a big internet site celebrity, and I kind of don't want to throw us all in the shit." And she got fired anyway.
Right.
So that's when she's finally gone, you know what, I've been patient. I've been hoping HR would do something about him. The fact they're not, just like, yeah, I've been threatening to go to the cops. They're like, yeah, we're dealing with it. She's like, no, you're not. I'm going to the cops.
Yeah. I just wish more people would actually, instead of like going to Twitter and going to all these other places, actually go to the police about this stuff, because this is a problem. If this is real and it's legitimate, it is a crime, and people need to fucking protect themselves, and they need to go to the police.
That's why I don't believe anyone whose first instinct is to post it all online. Like, if you're blabbering about it all online, I'm like, go to the cops or you're a liar. Simple as that.
Yeah,
The
because
next
even if it's just to file a police report, at least that starts building a history. Because I guarantee you're not the if it's legitimately happened,
Yeah.
you're not the only
Now, the next one was a particularly nasty one, and that was Michael Hafford, one who took great delight in reporting Zoe Quinn's book was going to be made into a film for the big screen. Had multiple allegations brought against him of not only raping women, but physically assaulting them as well. And there was photographic evidence of some of these women to back it up.
Right.
No news of any charges or arrested yet, but like the others have been called out before, Hafford locked his Twitter and apparently has been a bit quiet about it. And then after the Me Too hashtag started off, there was Sam Criss, contributor to Vice, who a woman after a woman accused him of sexual harassment during a night out. Vice said they wouldn't be working with him anymore, and he was also kicked out of the Labour Party for his actions because he did work for them on the side, apparently.
Oh well.
Yeah, and then we had Rupert Myers, reporter for GQ, The Guardian, and The Telegraph. A female journalist told of when, after putting up with his unwanted advances during a night out, she said to him, "He just wanted to be mates." He replied, "I've got enough mates, I'd rather fuck you." And then apparently forced himself on her outside the pub. Myers apparently apologised to the journalist privately before deleting his Twitter, as well as being fired from GQ. And then there was Lockhart Steele, editorial director for Vox Media, same again for Gawker, and apparently worked for Polygon. He was fired from Vox after numerous accusations of sexual misconduct were made against him. Then there was Tyler Mulcahy of NeoGAF, who was also accused of sexual assault by a woman he'd gone out drinking with, who even claimed he got into a shower with her completely uninvited. Now, to be fair to him for this story, he did deny the allegations. But many of the mods from NeoGAF jumped ship after this had been made public. Strange one.
Common theme.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Yep.
And then there was the film cinematographer who went by the name of Shane Vader, great name, who had gone after Whedon and Phil Robinson over their allegations, as well as attacking Gigi. He was revealed to be a registered sex offender who collected child porn. Sounds like a strange fan fiction, doesn't it? He offered an apology for his past. But yeah, that's another one. And then you had Francisco van Joel, if I'm saying his name right, the editor-in-chief of Joop NL, basically the Netherlands Kotaku. After he had attacked Gigi as well, he was called out by a 23-year-old lady after he attempted to rape her in a hotel room. He apologized publicly, but, well, see how that goes. And then finally, there was the ex-IGN writer Vincent Ingenito, if I'm saying that right, who had a sexual harassment claim leveled against him from Callie Plague. If I'm saying that right as well. These names are strange, some of these people.
Yeah, her name is Plague, yeah.
That's it. Now, the accusations were investigated internally back when this happened, and it was concluded, as detailed by Ingenito in his response, because he didn't know what he'd done, he said. Now, the IGN staff staged a protest, refusing to work for a day, putting out a statement about this, which basically came across as listen and believe. Yeah. But again, as with Kilstein and perhaps Phil Robinson, this comes across as mixed signals that perhaps one read completely the wrong way.
Yeah, he kind of got jammed up. That was when you look at that, it looks like I don't want to say like I hate coming down either one on these things, either side, like, you know, positive or negative until it comes out, like until there's actually verifiable proof and it's been like litigated or whatever. But this kind of looks like on first blush, it looks like he kind of got railroaded by this. It was like the court of public opinion kicked in and everybody's like, get rid of the heretic, you know, and it's just like, well, maybe there wasn't really that much of a thing going on here. Maybe somebody might have possibly misunderstood. There might be a little bit of miscommunication, but I don't see this one as being malicious though. But you know, again, we'll wait to see what happens, you know.
I don't know, I had trouble with that one.
Yeah.
So of course, to finish off, in the interest of fairness, I'll talk about what happened with Yiannopoulos this year. There were obviously stories going around about his privilege grant, the annoyance that the GG book never appeared, and of course, his being brought down after his appearance on the Bill Maher show by some of the silly comments he'd made. EJ, Peter, as you were present at the last stream, we talked about this. What were your thoughts on it?
Silence. Cricket.
Yeah. Crickets. I should get a sound effect for the when we do the podcast, so I can play it when there's silence, like cricket.
Yeah.
Cricket.
Milo's a very, how should I put this, caustic topic sometimes.
Yes,
right?
it is.
Because, like, I'm not a big fan of the guy's behavior.
No.
Right? I agree with him on a few things. I disagree with him on other things. But I started to kind of catch on to okay, so there's this book by Ryan Holiday called Trust Me, I'm Lying. Right? Now I read this book, and it's all about how to basically manipulate the public and like from a marketer's perspective, how to manipulate people into believing what you want them to believe and into this kind of thing, right? And a lot of the stuff that I see Milo do, it just rings so much from this book. And then I found out that he has actually read the book.
Interesting.
So I have to take the guy with a grain of salt.
Peter?
Right?
I'm fairly indifferent to him these days. But it's like I still get a nice giggle out of when he rips the shit out of idiot feminists and whatnot. But other than that,
yeah.
Oh, he's quick-witted.
He sort of dropped off my radar as far as anything to really care about.
Because the thing is, obviously, he lost his book deal with Simon & Schuster and was forced to self-publish. I listened to the audiobook to my own sort of curiosity and research. And it's notable what is missing from this, because he doesn't address the privilege grant. He doesn't talk about why he was left Breitbart and so forth. And Gigi itself gets literally a handful of mentions at the beginning of a chapter, but that's it. Where's that cricket sound?
Oh, sorry, I was muted. I realized
okay.
Yeah, again, it's Milo. He's a professional shit stirrer. He's just been down here in Australia doing a book tour, and it's more of the same. So again, it's just not much else to be said that hasn't already been said. Really, it's like he pretty much just used it as a vehicle to promote himself, and away he went. So you know what? Yeah, it's Milo. It's Milo being Milo.
Well, your microphone's going funny there.
Yeah, no, it's Milo. Yeah, it's either you love him or you hate him. He's just doing his thing.
Yeah, he's a provocateur. He's doing what he has to do to get ahead. He's doing what's right for him. I mean, I said that from the fucking beginning. I was like, be careful of this guy. He's a fucking, he ain't your friend. Yeah. I'm telling you, he ain't your fucking friend. So
the funny thing about
friend. Yeah, exactly. Who's important to Milo? Milo is important to Milo.
Because he has his own website now, doesn't he? I don't know if I mentioned this last time we spoke about it, but I've seen that he's got his own website called dangerous.com.
Oh yeah.
Did you
he's
see?
A schmuck, dude. He's a schmuck. And most people didn't see it because they saw this fucking person coming in like, oh, he's doing the thing he cares about us. He's talking positively about us. Oh, he's on our side. It's like, no, he's not. He's on his side. And a lot of people got snowballed by that, unfortunately. It's kind of sad because a lot of people bought into it. They're like, oh, this dude's totally, he's legit. He's fucking, and I'll give him his due. He did bring some light to some things that needed to be talked about.
Yeah.
But then he fucking was like, oh, wait a minute. This spotlight is getting bigger than my spotlight. And that quickly changed. And it became the Dangerous Faggot Tour and everything else took a back seat. So it's just like, whatever, dude. Most people, I feel bad that they didn't see this coming, and I hate to be like, well, I told you so, but, I fucking told you so.
The funny thing is, Scott, have you actually took a look at the Dangerous website?
No, I have not.
Have you seen who one of the writers is by any chance?
Oh, God, who?
Ian Miles Chong.
Oh, fuck Ian Miles Chong.
Fuck
Ian Miles Chong. Fuck that phony fucking with the wind blow fucking weather vane ass motherfucker Ian Miles Chong, dude. That guy.
I thought I'd get that response.
Oh, man. The things I could tell you.
Yeah,
if I wasn't such a fucking good person.
Tell us how you really feel.
Yeah.
Fuck him.
This is why I love having Scott on streams, because once he gets going, it's kind of entertaining to listen to, but at the same time, very difficult to stop. But anyway,
that dude is a fucking. He is a bigger phony than fucking faggot. Dangerous Faggot. Christ.
Scott.
I can't even fucking remember his name. I'm so fucking irritated right now.
I think I've triggered him. All right.
You have, yeah.
So But yeah, I'd like to thank everyone for turning up for this stream today, even if they didn't get here on time. This has been,
what? Sorry.
never mind. This has been fun. Nice way to say goodbye to streaming on YouTube, because obviously me, One Band Pete, will be launching the podcast next year. But this has been fun, guys. I appreciate you all turning up, and to those who listened. So this was Creators Talking episode 10, talking about comics, movies, 70 year past. Take care, everybody, and we'll see you all next time. No, actually, no, we won't. We'll see you.
Well, they'll hear us. I don't know if we'll see.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
All right. Take care.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Peace.
Bye-bye.